It's the Justin Kinner Show, live here on ESPN Dayton, 1410 Wing AM. Tweet the show at 1410 Kinner or give us a call at 457-9464. We now send you to the Wing Studios in Kettering. Here's your host, Justin Kinner.
Yeah. All right, happy Friday. Welcome in, everybody. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, live here on Dayton's ESPN radio station, 1410 Wing AM. You know, this is the first day, like, you're in a good mood.
I'm in a very good
like
mood.
It's a Friday or something. Look
it's
at you.
It's a Friday. Weather's going to be A1 all weekend long. Buckeyes play. We got Clemson, Notre Dame. We got Florida, Georgia. We got NFL action. My Steelers play your Cowboys. You know, it's a good weekend, man. Feeling good.
And Browns and Bengals fans should feel great.
Why is that?
Because we will not lose a game this week.
Aha.
We will not lose a game this week. All right, buckle up. A jam-packed 3-hour show coming your way as we get you set for a big weekend of college football, NFL, Browns, Bengals, as I mentioned, on a bye week, but still so much going on around the NFL, including the AFC North that, of course, impacts the Browns and Bengals as we currently sit here right now. In fact, we have a Bengals conversation coming up around the corner. Somehow, some way, Sports Illustrated was able to finagle some kind of headline that included Joe Burrow and MVP in the same sentence.
That algorithm got you, man.
Hook, line, and sinker.
Anything Bengals related comes up on your timeline.
Now, like, if the headline was, you know, Joe Burrow still has to play MVP quarterback Lamar Jackson, that makes sense. But Joe Burrow and MVP, that doesn't go together. Not yet. Not right now. But we'll get into that coming up around the corner. But I'm excited. We got Ohio State football coming up this weekend, tomorrow. We're at that stretch of the season right now where the matchup for Ohio State is never going to really excite you. No one's excited for the Rutgers matchup tomorrow. You're just excited to watch Ohio State football tomorrow. So the last I checked, I think it was like a 36-point line. It was a big line. Shocker to nobody. The line is gone. I'm sure there are other lines out there, but the one on ESPN.com, that line is no longer there. So interesting nonetheless. But the last time I checked, it was about 30-plus points. So tomorrow's interesting, Kev, because it's like, okay, when you know, and I'm always fascinated to hear this from Buckeye fans, or really college football fans in general, when you know you're about to watch a blowout, what is your mindset heading into these games as a fan? Like, I don't want to ask a simple, boring question. Are you excited for the game tomorrow? How you feel about the game? Of course you're excited for it, but it doesn't get the juices boiling like maybe an Ohio State, Penn State does, Ohio State, Michigan. Hell, even on a down year for Michigan State, Ohio State, Michigan State still has a nice feel to it. Mm-hmm. Ohio State, Rutgers will never have a nice feel to it as far as that's concerned. And Ohio State, Rutgers tomorrow night, it's under the lights, so that it adds that kind of appeal to it. It'll be on the Big Ten Network, so that'll kick off at 7:30. But what are you looking for in tomorrow's matchup? Like, what is it about Ohio State, Rutgers that has you excited?
There's absolutely nothing that has me excited.
On to the next topic we go.
I am looking forward to this game, for us to play a clean game and to hopefully be blowing them out by the middle of the second quarter so I can watch the game that I really want to watch, which is Clemson and Notre Dame. Obviously, we want to make sure we start running the ball more and more effectively like we did against Penn State. Clean pocket. We want to make sure Justin Fields is throwing the ball away and not taking those extra sacks, because really that's why he's getting hit. It isn't because the offensive line isn't blocking. It's because he's hanging on to the ball too long. We just want to work on everything we've been working on in practice. And, you know, one of my big things, like I was taught as a kid when I played football, was respect your opponent by beating them. You know what I'm saying? Take this opponent serious. And that's what we only can hope that the coaching staff at Ohio State is telling them. You know, we know who Rutgers is. We know what their record is. We know the history, yada, yada, yada. But respect them by beating them, by doing what you're supposed to do.
No, exactly. By the way, Shaw just messaged in right away. He had the answer for us. The line for Ohio State and Rutgers is pretty much what we expected it to be, 38.5. That it's a 38.5 point line as far as that's concerned. But I had this conversation last year during the season, because it got to a certain point where just every week, like it had gone almost a month without Ohio State having like a meaningful game, a game that you were like, oh man, I was on the edge of my seat. I was nervous. I was biting my fingernails. I couldn't sleep. I was sweating. I wanted, I didn't want to talk to people around around, like, we're at that stretch of the schedule where that's going to be the case moving forward, where there just isn't that matchup that really appeals to anybody. Rutgers, tomorrow you got Maryland coming up around the corner. The only reason Maryland intrigues me is because, well, the one position that everyone cares about, regardless of conference, is quarterback. And Tagovailoa looks pretty good. Tagovailoa looks pretty good, and I'm excited to see him go up against Ohio State's defense, although it could just end up like any other quarterback that goes up against Ohio State's defense in the Big Ten. Probably not well. But then you have Indiana, who's ranked 13th in the country right now, so that at least provides Ohio State another top 25 matchup, which is good at this point. You got Illinois, Michigan State, and then as of right now, that team up north is ranked, and we'll see how they rebound after another rivalry loss for Harbaugh and the Blue over this past weekend. So we'll see how all of that kind of unfolds throughout the week. But here's what I'm looking for the most. I want to see, this is going to sound crazy, I want to see as little of Justin Fields as possible. I want to see as little of Justin Fields as possible, because I need to know that at any moment, if the evil COVID kicks Ohio State in the pants, I need to know that what's behind Justin Fields is salvageable for us to get through this season. It's salvageable enough for us to be able to make the college football playoff. Salvageable enough for us to potentially compete in the college football playoff. Because here's the deal. We've already seen from Clemson what their backup situation is like, what their freshman quarterback looks like, and he looked pretty good.
I was going to ask you, what's your thoughts on him?
Well, other than me not being able to pronounce his name, I mean, really, to be honest, like last week, I thought, oh man, Trevor Lawrence not being in the game, it's having that much of an impact. They were down big to Boston College early in that game, and his numbers are fine. I mean, you would have never told me that Trevor Lawrence didn't play. You could have just hid the quarterback's name. That stat line would have been the same for Trevor Lawrence as it would have for Uwagami or whatever the hell his name is. I can't even pronounce it, but you see my point. So that's why I always say I don't want to hear, if it ever comes to Ohio State having to play a freshman quarterback, that, well, we had to play a freshman quarterback.
Right.
Because when you are Ohio State, when you are Clemson, when you are Alabama, when you are these teams and you put out these types of, athletes, when you put out this type of talent, it is reasonable to expect that they should be able to go in and compete at a high level. There's a reason that they went to your school. There's a reason that you wanted them. What's the famous line? Ohio State doesn't recruit, they select. They don't recruit, they select. They go out and select the best talent out there, just like Clemson and Alabama do at this point. It's those three teams and everybody else. As far as that's concerned, other teams, you could sprinkle them in there with solid recruiting classes here and there as well. But I want to see a lot of Jack Miller. I want to see a lot of Stroud. I mean, it looks and sounds like Jack Miller is that the guy that they're giving the most attention to? I mean, we're 2 games in. Right. I don't know you have to think that these two guys, one of these two isn't going to be here for a full 4 years. One of these guys is Joe Burrow right now. I'm not being serious. One of these guys is Joe Burrow. One of these guys could potentially be Dwayne Haskins. I just really hope that one of these guys isn't Tate Martell. That's all I'm worried about. But you know what I mean? Like, when I always love, like, when these guys come in and we start, really getting excited about them. We were super excited about Joe Burrow. We were really excited about, to be fair, Tate Martell. We were excited. I mean, I remember when they signed Tate Martell. I remember that day. Everyone went nuts. Everyone had lost their mind because how excited they were that they signed Tate Martell. And it was a hell of a signing. It was a hell of a commit. But everyone's story unfolds in a different manner. But I really do. That's what I'm excited about with this game tomorrow. Is, I know this sounds crazy, and we're talking about a Heisman candidate. I want to see as little of the Heisman candidate as possible. Kev, I don't want to see Justin Fields tomorrow. I want him to start. I want him to go up 21-28. Nothing quick. Boom. Rest after halftime. Get Jack Miller time. Get Stroud time. Get Gunnar Hoke time. I don't care who you got to get time. Get Justin Fields out of the game. No need to lose him against an opponent like Rutgers, as far as I'm concerned. But you do have to start learning who these guys are behind him. Bottom line.
100%. Because, like you said, we're not just playing opponents on the field. We're also playing COVID all season long. So you don't want to have a situation where, you lose your starting quarterback and then you go play Michigan State or Indiana, and that's his first time taking a meaningful snap in the game, and things go bad for the offense and everything like that, and start turning the ball over left and right, because that's how upsets happen. Turnovers are why upsets happen. You know what I'm saying? So you don't want to be put in that position. You want these guys to get their feet wet in meaningful action in a game. And then if that COVID bug does hit you, this won't be their first time taking any snaps.
Yeah, so that's going to be the biggest thing about this matchup tomorrow is just making sure guys are prepared. And, when we talk about the fact that Ohio State's had to fill a lot of holes, losing a lot of talent and losing a lot of talent to the draft last year, now's a good opportunity to get some. I mean, look, I get super pumped to watch the guys of the future early in the season. And this is a year where you don't lose eligibility, right? All these. So you get to play these guys a lot. I believe in football, you get to play them up to 4 games. If you could play them up to 4 games without them losing.
Right. But this whole season is a do-over year. So you can play the whole season and come back. Every freshman will be a red shirt freshman next season.
How do you think coaches will approach that? Will we see a little of Justin Fields, or do you believe that in the back of their head, hey, we need to give him some time out on the field to make sure his Heisman numbers are up? Because let's be clear, that's a real part of this. I'm going to say this before you do. That should not be any that. There should be zero consideration about Justin Fields' Heisman hopes in a matchup against Rutgers. Get him out there, get your double-digit lead early and quick, and I don't mean 10-0 or 14. Get that 21-0 lead and be done with it. Move on from it. Get Jack Miller, get Stroud, get. I don't even care as much as it would annoy me. If it is Gunnar Hoke because has experience, give him time. Get him out there, but get someone else out there, and not just at the quarterback position. Get a lot of the young guys.
Offensive line. Everybody needs reps. I'm with you 100%, man. Like in a normal situation, not battling COVID, this would be looked at as, all right, let's get the win, but also, hey man, let's pad a couple stats. If Justin throws 4 touchdowns in the first half, you go have the SID look at the record. Like, well, how many is the first half record for Ohio State? Oh, it's 5. All right, let's make sure we run this quick rollout pass so we can get the new Ohio State record and everything like that. Believe it or not, these type of things go on all the time. These are stat padding games, and a year like this, a situation like this, where there's zero wiggle room. Let's get the victory. Let's get up out of Dodge. That's the only thing that needs to be worried about is getting the wins. Don't need to be worried about padding stats. Don't need to be worrying about trophies because, to be perfectly honest, this isn't the games that they're going to be looking at. They're not going to be like, oh, man, that Rutgers performance is the one that pushed them over the edge. They're going to be looking at the Penn State game. They're going to be looking at the potential Indiana matchup if Indiana is still undefeated when they play Ohio State. The Michigan game. Those are the games they're going to be looking at for its Heisman candidacy. So these other games, don't get hurt. Just don't do anything stupid.
Yeah, and again, one more time, if you're just tuning in, Justin Kinner, Kevin Nash with you here tomorrow night. Ohio State, Rutgers, 2-0 Ohio State, number 3 in the country. Rutgers, a Division I football team playing under the lights on the Big Ten Network. But here's what's coming up after Rutgers: Maryland, Indiana, Illinois, Michigan State, Michigan. Again, just a much shorter season. But again, this is an interesting stretch. November, it's a very light schedule for Ohio State, although I think Indiana is going to pose a little bit more of a threat than what we had anticipated coming in, which I'm excited about. I want, when I take shots at the Big Ten, it's out of anger and frustration because I wish some more teams would kind of step up. And right now it looks like Indiana is one of those teams. Northwestern was one of those teams, that people were kind of circling and looking at a little bit. I do know that the Tagovailoa kid is going to be why Maryland's at least semi-interesting. You know what I mean? There's at least a reason to tune in and watch. Mel Tucker is why Michigan State's going to be interesting. Of course, Harbaugh's always why Michigan's interesting, whether it's we're talking about how they're underachieving or, living up to expectations for a few weeks or whatever. The Big Ten has talking points. It's just a matter of whether teams live up to those as far as that goes. So with that being said, I'm going to open up the phone lines. Buckeye fans, 457-9464. Let's take your calls and find out, what are you looking for the most? What is it that you are looking at for tomorrow for Ohio State and, of course, Rutgers in that matchup? Because it's clearly not the matchup you're excited about, but it's the game within the game. And for me, I can't wait to get to see a good quality, chunk of time for guys like Jack Miller, possibly Stroud, even if it's Gunnar Hoke, who I poke fun at Gunnar Hoke just because he's a backup quarterback from Kentucky. But man, I want to see what he could do. Now, I want to see what he could do. I want to see that, if he's out on the field for Ohio State. And if you're Ryan Day, maybe you get your starting quarterback out, leave your starters in, and put in Jack Miller. Don't put in Jack Miller with all your backup O-linemen, all your backup receivers. Let him get time with those guys. Like that's kind of where I'm at with that too. Not just sing the quarterbacks, but sing the quarterbacks within a real situation of playing alongside those starters. I doubt that's how it's approached, but man, I really do. I want to see those guys. Let's go to the phones. 457-9464. Talking Buckeyes with Ed. Ed, welcome in, sir. How are you?
Hey, how you guys doing? Hey, what's the point spread on the Rutgers game?
38.5. Shaw just messaged that in a little bit ago. 38.5. I think that went up a little bit from earlier in the week, too, by a couple.
Well, if they're on 42-7, 42-3 at halftime, yeah, maybe let them come out and do a series in the second half. But really, when you start pulling starters out, as long as they can, put it on Rutgers, but you don't want to win like 35-21. I don't think that looks good.
I know you're definitely right, because the college football playoff is why you can't do that, because the committee, you would like to think that they would give Ohio State the benefit of the doubt and look at the tape and say, well, they pulled their starters in the first half, but they'd have to think that even Ohio State's their entire second string is going to blow out Rutgers. But no, that's a good point. But I guess I'm saying if they go up big, you don't have to take out. Now, don't take out all of them, but I would get Jack Miller and those guys in. Look at Clemson. COVID hit Trevor Lawrence, and man, they hit panic mode. Luckily, they had a game between to give themselves a buffer before Notre Dame. What if the very first start for their freshman quarterback was against Notre Dame? That would be a rude awakening. So I don't want that to happen to Ohio State. Get these guys some time as much as possible.
It's an interesting thing, because when you get in the third quarter, Ryan Day, you got to keep about 2 or 3 of those first string offensive linemen and just have some kind of continuity. You definitely see, sometimes when they're playing like a Rutgers or a team that's not that great, they can, the second team can hold their own, but you just got to be careful with that. What's the point spread on the Notre Dame Clemson game tomorrow?
Do you have that, Kev? Did you look that up?
I didn't look it up. Yeah, let me look it real quick.
So I would have to. I mean, I don't even remember looking at that one at all. Kev's going to look at that point spread as far as that goes, and I'm almost wondering too what the point spread would be with Trevor Lawrence versus the freshman quarterback that they have right now. But I don't think quarterback play is going to be what impacts Clemson. I think it's just going to be everything. I mean, Notre Dame still has to find a way to stop the running game. They still have to find a way to stop the passing game. And Clemson's defense, which has been up and down, they got to stop Notre Dame too, even though Notre Dame's looked kind of sketchy at times offensively.
Clemson by 5, over under 50.5.
Okay.
Wow, it's interesting because last week Clemson's defense didn't. I mean, it's like Boston College, didn't they? I was like, what in the heck?
Yeah,
they just didn't look good at all.
Let's be clear.
Clemson's not the same team they were when they played Ohio State.
But look what Ohio State let Nebraska do. I mean, I know what you're saying, but I think we have a habit as fans of doing that. Like when we watch a team we hate, we're just looking for something to complain about them, But we never think about watching Nebraska. Do you imagine if Alabama fans were watching Ohio State play Nebraska? They were probably saying the same things that we do about their defense, So everyone's looking for those flaws. The bottom line is this is probably one season where, although there's a favorite, I don't think it's not like LSU last year where at this point we were like, oh man, no one's going to be able to touch them. Clemson's beatable. Alabama's beatable. I need to see a few more games, but I think Ohio State's semi-beatable against elite teams. I don't think that there's a set favorite to win the national title this year outside of those 3.
I want to see do you guys know who Nebraska's playing tomorrow? Because I figure they're going to turn the corner with Frost. They might. Nebraska might have a winning year this year.
Well, they have. I mean, it's 0-1 Nebraska at Northwestern, and Northwestern's quietly 2-0. And if Northwestern improves to 3-0, I'm curious, kind of at what point do they start getting some top 25 love at a certain point? So we'll see. I mean, look, Peyton Ramsey looks good. I mean, that was a solid pickup for them too. So we'll see. Peyton Ramsey's good.
Okay. Hey, you guys have a good show. Thanks a lot.
Hey, thanks, Ed. Good hearing from you. Have a great weekend.
Right.
You know what I mean by that? And Ed did nothing wrong, but when we start doing that, where we're looking at Clemson, oh man, see, look at them. They struggled against Boston College. And then you look at the final score and say, that doesn't look like it. But there was a stretch in that game, the first half, where Clemson just looked discombobulated. Mm-hmm. That also, too, by the way, speaks to the leadership of Trevor Lawrence. I know that sounds crazy, but sometimes when you lose your best player, even though Trevor Lawrence doesn't play defense, I do wonder how much of an impact that had mentally on the defense, as far as I think the defense felt the pressure. Man, we got to come out and we have to be why we win this game, because I don't know what we're going to get out of our freshman quarterback. We know what he's capable of from what we've seen in practice, but when the lights are on, we don't know what he's capable of. I think it's one of those where they watched their quarterback get settled in, their defense got settled in, and then they're like, okay, this is just business as usual. So I'm not worried about I mean, we shouldn't be worried about Clemson, but I'm not going to nitpick Clemson's defense, because I know for a fact that you have Clemson fans and Bama fans watching Ohio State against Nebraska, and even at times against Penn State defensively, where people are like, oh yeah, this isn't the Okuda led secondary. This isn't the defensive front that we're accustomed to seeing. You could say the same things about Ohio State defensively that we're saying about some of the others. So that's why I try not to play that game.
100%, man. We always look at the other team about what they're doing wrong. We look at them with a fine-tooth comb, as we should, because we're fans. We're fans of our team, and we want our team to look as best as they can, and we want to nitpick the other team, especially in the CFP era we're in. We're always looking for that one up to make sure we're better than them. So we want to be number one when they're number two and number one, and then see how we match up with that quote unquote easy matchup with number 4. Like, we want our path to be the easiest to the national championship game. We want
the path of least resistance.
Yeah, we want Clemson and Bama to play each other, so it knock one of them out, and then we can play. Name your other team, UC, a team from the Pac-12, a team from the Big 12. That's what we want. Let them play 2 rough games, and then we just play a semi-easy game and then 1 rough game.
Yeah, sometimes that 2 versus 3 matchup is the more entertaining of them all. I mean, the 1 versus 4, and usually the 1 versus 4 more times than not gets that primetime slot. But the 2 versus 3, that's the heavyweights right there. I mean, let's be clear. We keep talking about let's make the playoff 6 teams. Let's make it 8. Let's go to 12. We sit here and act like it's a foregone conclusion who the 4 is going to be. I think it's very difficult to find the 4 best teams every year. I think we've always found the 3 best teams. It's very hard to find that 4th team that deserves to be in there. I mean, there's a lot of that 1 versus 4 leads to a lot of blowouts. So when we're talking about, you would think that the top 4 teams, that those would be 4 national title contenders. Really, every year there's probably been 2 to 3 title contenders with a little Cinderella type number 4 coming in, hoping to make some noise as far as that goes. So interesting nonetheless. But Kev, 457-9464. We'll open up the phone lines again. But let's take a look at some of the matchups around the Big Ten. That's what we're going to do when we come back. Again, there's actually a top 25 matchup in the Big Ten. I did not think that we would be saying that at this point, especially with Michigan going down early. Penn State's 0-2. But there's some other teams that have stepped up. We're going to talk about the one top 25 matchup that's in the Big Ten coming up tomorrow. Plus, there's a Big Ten game that should be going on tomorrow night. That's not happening. We'll talk about who won that one. Nobody, other than COVID, I guess. It's unfortunate. One less Big Ten matchup tomorrow. But let's take a look at some of the top matchups around the Big Ten. Plus, we got some questions coming in about the Cincinnati Bearcats. So we might have to up our Cincinnati Bearcat talk around here, especially with how high they are up in the rankings right now.
They're not local, though. They're not
local. Yeah. Does Cleveland have a team?
No, Cleveland State does not have a team.
What about a club team? When we come back, Cleveland State Club football.
Wright State has a club football team.
We'll be back in a moment.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash on 1410 ESPN Radio. ESPN 1410 Wing AM weather.
This afternoon will be clear and sunny with a high near 72. Tonight's also going to be clear with a low around 43. And tomorrow will be clear and sunny with a high near 73. I'm Pete Spivak for 1410 ESPN Radio.
Weather is brought to you by Cullet Propane. 98% of their customers recommend Cullet. If you wouldn't recommend your current supplier, check them out at culletpropane.com.
So how are singles dating during the pandemic? Well, Match did the research, and here's the scoop from the Singles in America study. It turns out video dating isn't just awkwardly staring through the phone. 56% of all singles who video dated during the pandemic felt romantic chemistry, and 68% used video dating to determine if they wanted to go on an IRL date. And people are getting real. 69% said that they're being more honest with potential partners. So are you ready to try something new? Download the Match app for free today.
Hiring can be challenging, but ZipRecruiter makes it fast and easy. We talked to Monica Starks, who needed to hire for her company, GS Group.
As the owner of a construction company, finding the right people is a very difficult task. So I use ZipRecruiter.
ZipRecruiter finds the right people for your job and actively invites them to apply.
With ZipRecruiter, we've hired everyone from accountants to project managers to field scientists.
And now you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free. At ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
T-Mobile for Business knows saving time and money is important for your business. That's why we're introducing Microsoft 365 on Us, now included in our best business plans. With Office apps, Microsoft Teams, cloud storage, and more, Microsoft 365 on Us gives you the tools you need to run your business. Stop by a T-Mobile store today. Qualifying plan required. Contact us to activate. 1 license per line, max 2 per account. Third-party terms apply. See T-Mobile.com for plan details.
Customers, students, and staff expect a new level of clean. Cintas has the essential products and services to help you carry out cleaning protocols effectively. Cintas performs surface sanitizer and disinfectant spray services to common touch points, installs and refills touchless hand sanitizer dispensers, and provides commercial laundry services to help minimize employee exposure. Give everyone the confidence they need to keep coming back. Visit Cintas.com and get ready for the workday.
All those mouths to feed. So many different cravings. In a world filled with endless dinner options, lives a family ravaged by hunger. The answer lies with one man. No, not just a man, a king, a pizza king. Get a large Casano's Deluxe Pizza.
I tested positive for coronavirus and immediately self-quarantined. I got worse and worse and checked into the hospital. Multiple times I said, I don't want to die. We know what works. We know how to fight this, but it's going to take all of us doing the right thing every single day.
Sponsored by the Ohio Hospital Association.
T-Mobile for Business knows saving time and money is important for your business. That's why we're introducing Microsoft 365 on us, now included in our best business plans. With Office apps, Microsoft Teams, cloud storage, and more, Microsoft 365 on us gives you the tools you need to run your business. Stop by a T-Mobile store today. Qualifying plan required. Contact us to activate. 1 license per line, max 2 per account. Third-party terms apply. See T-Mobile.com for plan details.
Now at Lowe's, we're saying thanks to our pros in more ways than ever before during our Provember event. We have deals on the brands you trust, like DeWalt, Spyder, and Metabo HPT. We also have credit options you won't want to miss. Plus, for 5 days only, November 9th through the 13th, bring in an old bucket from one of our competitors and get a brand new 5-gallon Lowe's branded bucket free. Just one more reason why we're the new home for pros. Limit 1 bucket per customer while supplies last. U.S. only.
Cordell Transportation is now hiring for brand new home daily dedicated lanes. Earn up to $1,620 per week. A $2,000 sign-on bonus, medical, dental, vision, company paid life insurance. Apply online at CordellTransportation.com.
Susie, I love you. Your skin is soft, like a fresh leather interior.
Oh, Joe.
Your smell is intoxicating, like that of a new tire.
You always know how to make me blush.
So this year I got you something special.
Tires! Touring tires with an asymmetrical tread design.
Yeah, and a free alignment with standard installation.
It's just what I've always wanted.
Susie doesn't know that Joe saved $150 at tire discounters. This holiday, say it with tires.
With the $10 Tastemaker from Pizza Hut, I can get a large with up to 3 toppings, so I don't have to pick between them. Nope, don't need that stress in my life. Order yours online at pizzahut.com. No one out-pizzas the Hut. Prices and participation may vary. Extra charge for pan, stuffed crust, extra cheese, and more toppings.
This is time that matters. A window of time to help protect the ones you love. Your preteen benefits from staying up to date with their well visits. This is your window of protection. Schedule their well visit now. Brought to you by Merck.
What's in store this holiday at your local Staples?
Gifts and packages shipped with care.
So you can relax knowing they'll soon be there.
Now at Staples, save 25% on UPS expedited shipping services. Plus, save up to 30% on select shipping supplies.
Shop in store or get same-day delivery through Instacart.
Pack it and ship it for less at Staples.
Ends 1/2/21. While supplies last. In-store only. See store for details. Instacart not available on shipping services. Fees, taxes, additional terms, and/or tips may apply. Delivery subject to availability.
Staples helps your business go big with everything you need at amazing prices. From office essentials like paper and ink to health essentials like masks and sanitizer. Save big at Staples.
Hey, who wants free money? Who are we kidding? We all do. It's the ESPN Dayton #We Want to Get Paid Cash Contest. Listen for the word that wins 18 times a day, starting at 6 a.m. Monday through Friday. Enter the keyword at wingam.com for your chance to win $1,000. It's the ESPN Dayton #We Want to Get Paid Cash Contest. All sports, all the time. This is 1410 ESPN Radio.
Problem right there now. Ohio State Rutgers coming up tomorrow night. Of course, no, that makes sense now. All right, let's start that over. Ohio State Rutgers tomorrow night, it's a night game. Ohio State Rutgers under the lights. Come on. That happened a few years ago, right, on the Big Ten Network?
Nice little
But it wasn't a Saturday game.
Yeah, it was.
Was it a Saturday game?
Yeah.
Because either way, it just, even though it's under the lights, like no matter how hard you try to soup up Ohio State Rutgers, you just can't do it. But again, as we close out the show today, I mean, I'm just like, I'm looking ahead at that. I'm like, man, Ohio State Rutgers tomorrow night under the lights. It is what it is. We talked about it. It's not the matchup itself. It's the matchup within the matchup. Mm-hmm. It's everything going on there. I'm excited to see Stroud and Jack Miller and to see what Ohio State is going to look like without Justin Fields out on the field, because he's going to be out there to start. But my thing is get that score up. I remember last year, the opening game of the season against Florida Atlantic. I mean, it was 28-0 into the first quarter.
Yep.
I mean, that's great when it's the first game. You're trying to get everyone loose and ready to go. But this is game 3. You're in the driver's seat. I mean, you know that you have a spot in the college football playoff. You know that you have a reasonable schedule moving forward. I'm not saying that. I mean, everyone's going to be like, well, you got to do one game at a time. Don't disrespect your opponent. I think you could say what I'm saying while also acknowledging that is happening too. I mean, I think sometimes we try too hard to act like, I better be careful for Rutgers. If this is the NFL, fine. The Titans, they took their foot off the gas and we're looking past last week, and look what happened. They lost to a Rutgers in the Cincinnati Bengals. They didn't take the Bengals seriously, and they punched them in the mouth. So you always got, in the NFL, you always got to be, ready to go. But not in college. I shouldn't say not in college football. In college football, sometimes, it writes itself. Unless it's Purdue or Iowa, and then I have games like that working against me. But it'll be fine.
What do you think about Schiano being back at Rutgers? He was their best coach they ever had them all the way up to like number 2 in the country during his first tenure there. What do you think about him being back there? Is there any potential for them to get, maybe not back to number 2 level country in the country and everything like that, but, respectable football, like that good 7 wins, 8 wins?
My thing with him is not going to be during the season. It's the off season. It's the recruiting trail. What are you going to do? Because that's the only way. I mean, you could drop X's and O's in a million different ways, but as long as you don't have the talent on the field to match who you're going up against, and this isn't just about Ohio State, it's even about the middle teams like Iowa, Purdue, and others. What are you going to do to get up there with them? As crazy as that sounds, because right now this isn't about the gap between them and Ohio State. There's a gap between Ohio State and pretty much almost all teams in the Big Ten right now. But how do you close the gap on the middle of the conference if you're Rutgers? How do you close the gap if you're in the middle of the conference, from where you are to where they are? That's where Rutgers has to start. They got to improve the recruiting. They got to get better players in there. I mean, sometimes that seems like too simple of an answer, but it's true. Get better players in there. Start closing the gap between the roster, your roster, and the rosters of the middle of the Big Ten. And once you get there and you're consistently right there in the middle, then start working your way up. He has a project. That's his baby. I don't think. I mean, there's going to be pressure to win there, but it's not like the pressure at Ohio State where you're expected to win. They're just hoping you win there. We'll see. It was a mistake adding them to the conference. It still doesn't make any sense to me. You wanted that New York market, fine, but when no one in New York wants to watch your bad team, I mean, but I guess you'd have to think even the smallest percentage of a New York audience is still going to watch something. I mean, I don't know.
Absolutely.
It's crazy.
It's an option. It's that option. Like, we know how this whole cable thing works. You want the Big Ten network because we live in Ohio and we got a pretty good football team, but they force you to get these 20 other stations too. That's exactly what they're doing in New York. Like, hey, you want to have, I don't know, the Yes Network, but yeah, you got to get the Big Ten network too, and they charge them a premium price for it. So now technically you have all these extra viewers in the New York and New Jersey market, but are they really watching Rutgers? I mean, shoot, maybe they're watching Rutgers basketball. They were pretty good at that last year.
Yeah, they have Ron Harper's kid.
Yeah.
He's coming back another year. David Shaw says, Michigan took Sparty lightly. Anything is possible. I'm not going to use Michigan taking Michigan State lightly. Actually, that's Harbaugh's. That's a Harbaugh problem anyway. Then, because how often does he take Michigan State lightly? Apparently, a lot.
I'm not even gonna go there with Shaw today, man. It's a Friday. I feel good, man.
You feel okay? Good. Matt Sturgeon. Hey, we're not arguing Bengals for once, so good. We're on the same page. He goes. He's looking for continued improvement out of the Buckeyes' defense and running game.
Yeah.
He would like to see a backup quarterback in the fourth quarter, just in case the COVID hits. Matt, I'm all with you. You said the fourth quarter. I want the second half. I think that the more, and not just the fourth quarter or the second half. I kind of want to see Jack Miller get some time with the starters. Because Clemson is, and I guess on a regular season, without a pandemic striking everything, it's one of those situations where I'm like, a quarterback can get injured at any time. He can go out at any time and miss time. But it just seems like I'm extra concerned about it this year because, Trevor Lawrence goes down and Clemson panics, but they get past Boston College. They're the favorite tomorrow against Notre Dame. Ohio State loses Justin Fields. How far down do they drop? What's the production? How far down will the production drop without Justin Fields? I would rather find out what they're working with against a team like Rutgers in Maryland coming up than have them lose him and you have Michigan or, heaven forbid, heading into the college football playoff.
Right.
That could be horrible too. So I'm being overly cautious as far as that goes. That's why I'm like, hey, I want to see more of our backups in this game, more so, at least in the next two, because you got Indiana around the corner. Illinois is going to be another one of those games. Even Michigan State's one of those where, yes, from a talent perspective, not even close to Ohio State, but they're well coached, and it's Michigan State at the end of the day, so that's why you always have to keep an eye on them.
Absolutely, everything that's going on at Michigan State, like you have a brand new head coach with Mel Tucker, but let's not forget, man, he has Ohio roots. He's from Cleveland. He's coached under Jim Tressel at Ohio State. He also has Nick Saban roots. He's not a rookie head coach. His first year coaching was out there in Colorado and everything like that. He has experience in the NFL. So you definitely don't want to overlook him and everything that they got going on in Michigan State. But something I wanted to bring up, we're talking Rona a lot in sports, but we also have to remember this is football, so regular injuries still happen too. Jalen Waddle at Alabama, he broke his ankle. He's out for the year. He's a top round draft pick. He's going to be out. So not only is it football and you got regular injuries, you also have COVID. But I just think we're always like, oh man, we don't want to get bit by the Rona because the Rona have you out for 3 weeks. Well, you don't want to get hurt, period, because a regular injury could have you out for the entire season.
No, I agree with you 100% as far as that goes too. Now, and look, I'm getting some more of these coming in that are interesting to look at as well. Tyler on Facebook says, we saw Clemson come back and win, but can we do that? We don't know, especially with the backup quarterback at that. So that's interesting to me too. He's right. It's not just seeing how they look with the backup quarterback. It's those situational things that you don't want to find yourself behind in a game.
Right.
But Clemson, it might have been a blessing in disguise. They got to see. I still think what had happened with that defense heading into that matchup was I still think they're comfortable with Trevor Lawrence in a game. Yeah. The defense doesn't feel like, man, even if we're not playing our best game, we know Trevor Lawrence is capable of winning this game if we don't have our best game. I think they felt the pressure of no Trevor Lawrence out on the field. I think you could tell they looked a little jumpy early on. They had some penalties. They were giving up, some chunk yardage plays. Clemson did not look comfortable. And then as their quarterback started playing better, their freshman quarterback started playing better, they started playing better. And I think it's like once they got okay, cool, this kid knows what he's doing. Now we can relax, not have to put the pressure on ourselves. I think that's something that you can't consider. You're not going to find that on the box score. You're not going to see at what point did the defense feel comfortable or whatever. You're just going to see stats at the very end with that. Let's go to the phones. Let's go to Jack. Jack, thanks for holding, sir. Welcome in.
Hey, Justin, you gave me an opening to take a shot, so I have to take my shot.
Do what you got to do. Shooter's going to shoot.
Hey, you don't have to worry about Ohio State not performing against a bad team because they're no longer coached by Urban Meyer.
There you see, that went the shot. Look, my biggest complaint about Urban was that I thought he allowed his team to get too relaxed on opponents that they weren't necessarily mentally focused on. I think they were so worried about the Clemsons and Bamas and the big teams of the world that sometimes they overlooked those teams. One thing I loved about Ryan Day's teams last year, it didn't matter who they played. They just came out and started swinging on anybody. And the games were, it was 28-0. His very first game as the full-time head coach of Ohio State, it was 28-0 at the end of the first quarter. There was no hesitancy. We saw that with Urban Meyer from time to time.
If you give Urban, a week or two, or sorry, not a week, but for a time for a big game, you could always trust him. But when you went up against an Iowa or a team like that, especially in their place, it always scared the crap out of me.
Yeah, and Kev, do you remember who did, and you too, Jack, who did Ohio State have after the Rutgers or after the Purdue and the Maryland or the Purdue and Iowa game? Do either of you happen to remember who they had? Were those potential trap games? I can't remember what narrative we were talking about when it came to that matchup a few years ago. Do you remember, Jack?
I don't remember.
All right. You're not the sports radio host, so you should be asking me, not me asking you.
Hey, good talking to you guys. Like I said, just wanted to take a shot there.
Do what you got to do, but hey, have a great weekend. All right, take care.
You too, bud.
Everyone needs to enjoy their weekend, enjoy the beautiful weather.
Man, oh man, what are you going to do this weekend? I mean, obviously,
I'm going to try and golf. I haven't golfed in a few weeks. It's been, winter out. So now that it's back to fall a little bit, I would like to get out and enjoy the golf course a little bit.
I'm going to go get on my bike, man. I'm going to hit the bike trail, man, before the games and everything like that, man. So I'm going to be out on the bike trail by 11.
Matt Sturgeon says true, but that freshman wide receiver absolutely balled out. I mean, yeah, that's what talented teams do. Team's going to have talent that they're going to be able to rely on. So we'll see. I mean, tomorrow, like I said, it is not about the matchup. It's not about who Ohio State's playing. It's about the matchup within the matchup itself. And that's why I'm excited to see some of these new players get some solid time. Okay,
so after that debacle versus Iowa, Ohio State played number 13. Michigan State won 48-3.
So not really necessarily trap games. It's just they didn't come out prepared. Plus, you also had, when you take a look at the Purdue game that night, windy as hell, cold as hell, on the road at night. It's Purdue. It's like, they're going to get up for that more than they normally would just because you have them under the lights. So, and
after the Purdue debacle, had a nice little close game versus Nebraska, 36-31. At high noon. The
high noon kickoff.
At high noon kickoff. Well, you know what? And normally you're the guy that bashes JT Barrett on this show. Let me take that crown real quick.
Kev, it's a Friday. We're trying to have some fun.
I don't put that loss on Herb, dude, at all, man. Like,
which one?
The Iowa loss.
Oh, you mean the pick six to start the game?
Yeah,
to set the tone. You mean that?
Dude,
in your territory.
That absolutely has nothing to do with Urban Meyer. Urban Meyer's not saying, "Hey, man, throw it 5 feet behind the wide receiver." He's not telling them to do
Screen!
that. Bruh. And he's not telling them to throw a live pass in the end zone that gets picked off as well. The quarterback turned the ball over left and right. That's not on the coach. That's not on him.
I will not sit here and
I'm not even the Herb guy. I'm not even the Herb guy.
What the beauty part about being a radio host that no one listens to or knows who I am is last year when I met JT Barrett and he had no clue who I was like, thank the Lord. Now I could just be some weird fan talking to him, and he doesn't know who the hell I am. So I got lit up when I posted that picture on the boat with JT Barrett. People are like, "Wait a minute, what the hell did you?" And I'm like, no, "Why would I?" First of all, if you meet these guys, just because we have opinions on this show, it's not like every time that I run into these people. Like if I met Joe Burrow, I'm not gonna be like, "Joey B, you suck." Like I'm not gonna I'd go up to him like, "Man, it's an honor to meet you."
Keep that same energy, Kenner.
Well, I'm just saying, I'm not, I'm a coward. It's fine. I talk smack in this studio, and then when I get out in the pub, I'm like, "Hi, I'm Justin. Have you ever heard of me? Probably not, but here's my card."
So when you posted that picture, I saw the mob killing you on Facebook.
I knew it too.
So I just went and hit you up with a text like, "Really?" And you knew exactly what I was talking about.
Oh, yeah.
Really?
No, so really not so much now. We don't talk as much JT, but years ago, for those of you just tuning in, years ago, I just was not a fan of the style of offense that Urban ran. I was, JT Barrett, they won a lot of games, but I was like, I still felt like he was kind of holding them back. And then when we saw them holding them back, they won a lot of games. They were good. He's a Buckeye legend. I'm not going to sit here and disrespect him to that degree, but I did feel like his style kept Ohio State back in certain situations. I don't think that a JT Barrett-led Ohio State Buckeye offense today, I don't think they can beat a Clemson. We saw them lose to Clemson 31-0 with the JT Barrett quarterback as far as that goes. So, they're not beating in Alabama with him, in my opinion. So, anyways, we talked about that a ton during that stretch. And then, of course, everyone would get mad at me because, how could you talk bad about JT Barrett? You're just trying to be Skip Bayless and you're trying to be Colin Cotton. I'm just kidding. And then I meet JT Barrett. at the JR Memorial over at Indian Lake, and sitting there on the boat. And I'm just sitting there chatting it up with him, and I'm like, he has no clue who I am, and thank the Lord. Thank the Lord. I even said, man, I'm a big fan of yours. And I am a big fan of his. I'm just saying my opinion is that they couldn't. I mean, his style was not going to lead them to a national championship. I said, too, if he stays healthy, they still beat Wisconsin in that Big Ten championship game, but they're not playing in the college football playoff. So there you go.
Kenner.
You started it. You're the one that brought up JT Barrett.
Shouts out to JT, man. He's playing some league, man. I saw.
What is that, like 7-on-7?
I don't know, but he was dropping dimes.
It's supposed to be like a new developmental type league, but how many of this? Like the third different one we've seen between the American, whatever. What was that conference called, or that league called? It was the American, the AAF or something, the AAF or whatever, and then you have the XFL, which I'm bummed. Which
like
the
my report card.
The Rock just purchased that.
Right.
And they're bringing that back next year. But the XFL didn't fail this time.
No.
COVID won.
Rona. Man, doesn't that seem like a long time ago? I was having a conversation with my buddy about Kobe Bryant. And I was like, dude, that was in January. We're coming up on a year anniversary of that very soon. And that seems like that was years ago. Like everything that's happened in 2020, man. So, yikes.
No kidding. Okay, I mean, this whole year has just been miserably long when you think about it. All right, as we close this part of the show out, let's take a look at some of the top matchups around the Big Ten and how these matchups could impact Ohio State moving forward. Let's start with the Nebraska-Northwestern game. For one, Nebraska, it's funny. There's not many times where you lose a game and you feel good about yourself. I truly believe Nebraska felt good about themselves after, the way they looked against Ohio State. They were only down 10 at the half. You say only. They were only down 10 at the half, and they were, a play or two away from it being a one-possession game at the half, which is, to me, when you're playing Justin Fields and Master Teague and Trey Sermon, and you look at those talented wideouts, the fact that you were within one possession or even 10 at half, that's a win in itself. So they felt confident. Then, of course, they felt, real confident. I was really looking forward to that Nebraska-Wisconsin matchup because I felt like we were going to really learn a thing or two about both of those teams. And obviously, Wisconsin, their game with Purdue is canceled this weekend due to COVID. Nebraska has Northwestern, but this is going to be a fun matchup right here. Two pretty interesting quarterbacks. I'm excited to see what Peyton Ramsey does. I like both, but because Northwestern's 2-0, I'm going to roll with Northwestern. I want to see more. I want to see Northwestern just keep moving up, those rankings, those standings right there. So a 3-0 start for Northwestern. They are a 3.5-point favorite, but Nebraska has they're responding to Frost, and that's a good thing moving forward. They have a quarterback that's like 9 years into college though.
And that's what you want. You want to have better coaches in the Big Ten. The SEC has all these names that everybody knows, to the Sabans, to the Kirby Smarts, to the Jimbo Fishers. Like, they have brand names, and that's what you want to have in the Big Ten. Like, how many real brand names do you actually have coaching wise in the Big Ten? Like, as great as Ryan Day is, he's not a name brand yet. The school is, the program is for sure, but probably the biggest name brand is Harbaugh.
Oh, easily. Remember when we were talking about that, about when Ohio State, when they pulled the plug on the Buckeye season, or the Buckeye, well, technically, when they pulled the plug,
which time?
When they pulled the plug on the Big Ten season, and I was always like, Ryan Day was coming out and adamant that there needed to be a season. People were looking at James Franklin. I was thinking about the coaching, the head coaches in the Big Ten. I'm like, there's not a lot of big names in that room. And before people get mad at me, like, Ryan Day's not a big name. He's just not yet. He's well on his way. They're going to make the college football playoff again, barring any outbreak or injuries. And then, everyone knows who Ryan Day is, but he's not up at that Dabo Swinney, Nick Saban range yet. He's well on his way. Just give it time. So don't take that and spin it, Buckeye fans. I'm not taking it. It's just the reality of it. But if you have all the Big Ten coaches sitting in a conference room or sitting on a Zoom, and you are, the commissioner of the Big Ten sitting there looking at all these faces, there's not a face that really pops out outside of Harbaugh.
Right.
No one, like, if you just told a casual fan to come in and see if you recognize anyone on a big conference Zoom call, point at the face that looks familiar. Harbaugh might be the only one that looks familiar amongst that. Now you go to the SEC, and you have the big conference Zoom call right there, and you're looking like the Brady Bunch on your screen, and you're saying to point at the coaches that look familiar. There's a ton of coaches.
Lane Kiffin, too.
Even him. And it's like there was so much more weight in the SEC coaching department then I think that really did kind of, tip the scales a little bit of the to be able to get that to happen. I don't think there was enough big names in the Big Ten to be able to alter the decision of the university presidents and even Kevin Warren. And I still think that had an impact on that overall.
What you're banking on from the Big Ten is Mel Tucker to work out. What you're banking on is
Schiano, who should be at Tennessee. They chased. He was supposed to, that. The whole angry mob basically chased him out of town. As far as that, he would be in the SEC right now. And that could be a win for the Big Ten. Unfortunately, he's just with Rutgers. We'll see what he could do there.
You're hoping to bring them back to a 7-8 win program. You're hoping Michigan gets back to the 90s. You're hoping that Nebraska gets back to the 90s with Scott Frost. Like, these are the things that you're hoping for. But currently, it's all about Ohio State nationally.
Yep.
We do this every single year. We're like, all right, is this the year Team X is going to get over the hump and really make some noise in college football? And always turns out to only really be Ohio State, because Penn State loses a game before they even get to the big game, or Michigan proves themselves not to be worthy of Ohio State by getting blown out. You can lose to your rival. There's no shame in losing a game, but when you get blown out, then there's a problem. You know what I'm saying? I think that's the biggest problem with Michigan is not that they lose, it's the way they're losing this game. That's a problem nationally. And if I was a fan, I would have a big problem with that as well. So it's the big names. It's the college football. That's what it's built around. The main people in college football are always going to be the coaches. You know what I'm saying? Because this is college sports. The recruiting cycle. New guys come in, new guys go out. It's a cycle. They're not going to be here forever. This is not the NFL where Tom Brady plays for the New England Patriots for 18 years. The max year they're going to play is 5 at the most. And then we got a new quarterback, you know what I'm saying? And most quarterbacks don't start as a true freshman for 5 or 4 years or whatever. So it's a cycle, man. That's why the program is so important. And that's why the coach is so important.
Hey, real quick, we were being rude. While we were talking, Ron was screaming and wanting attention. So I better give him attention real quick. He seems to have his feelings hurt. Ron on Facebook says, what's funny is you only talk up teams you favor, but not the teams you should talk up. Matt Sturgeon then asked him, well, what teams do you want them to talk up? He goes, the Bengals, UC, locally teams, whatever that means. That's funny coming from Ron, who every time we're talking Ohio State or anything, he's like, Tom Brady and the Buccaneers. Hey, guess what? So the Reds, they might re-sign Trevor Bauer today. Don't forget about the Rays, Tampa Rays. And now he's sitting here complaining in the chat and Facebook saying that, how come you're not talking Bengals and UC? Ron, come on now. I haven't told you hi since the show started. I get you a little upset, but don't be bringing that foolishness over here. My goodness, come on now. OSU, Matt Sturgeon, his prediction, Ohio State 48-13 over Rutgers. And you disrespecting that defense. You give up 13 to Rutgers. Actually, I'm trying to think. I'm going to go back, Matt. I'm going to go back and look. I want to see the point totals that Ohio State's given up to Rutgers over the last couple of years. I'm going to look that up during this next couple minutes.
Yeah, about 21 last year.
No wonder they couldn't be close. Yeah, right. They didn't even have their main guy. I'm wondering. I can't remember how early they went to the bench for that one.
I think the Rutgers scored 21 in the fourth quarter.
Oh, that's right. And
it was something crazy because I turned it off obviously, and then I just kept seeing the ticker. Ohio State had 50, then Rutgers had 7. Ohio State had 50, then Rutgers had 14. Ohio State had 50, and then Rutgers had 21. Then Ohio State had 50, and the game was over.
Corey Harden, I believe is his name. Corey just messaged into the show. Hi, Corey. He says, what about Lovie Smith? That's actually, that's a big name. I'll give you that one.
Yeah.
The problem is his name got built up from his run in the NFL, and it's been almost a decade since we talked about him and being in the Super Bowl. It's just there's certain programs that the Lovie Smith Illinois thing reminds me of Herm Edwards going to Arizona State. Those are big name coaches, but they go to these programs that there's a ceiling with those programs. It's going to take coaches who are, I think it's going to take I don't know. I guess you look at what Mac Brown's doing over at North Carolina, and he's getting them back into the spotlight and the recruiting trail. You would think there'd be, but Lovie Smith, I'll never forget when I read an article 2 years ago that said that they were happy when they were getting their 3-star recruits. He said that they, at Illinois, we're happy with our 3-star recruits. And of course, they got just absolutely ripped.
You got to start somewhere. You got to start. Dude, there's situations in Chicago and in Illinois where SEC comes, Ohio State comes, everybody comes and raids their best talent. That's the same thing that happens in New Jersey. New Jersey has great high school football, but they get raided. They get raided from every school in the country. They can't keep their good guys home. That's why Greg Schiano did have a little run at Rutgers, because he was able to keep a couple guys at home. Once he left, all those dudes
That's the problem in New York. Everyone has to stay home.
Like,
quarantine.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, look at Curtis Samuel. Curtis Samuel is from Brooklyn. He came to Ohio State. You look at Todd Gurley. He's from not Todd Gurley. Who was the running back before? Sean Moreno. He's from New Jersey. He went to Georgia. Like, they get plucked. Just DC gets plucked too. That's why Maryland ain't no good. But the few years that they're good, they keep their guys at home. Like Stephon Diggs.
Look at you. Look at you. Your Rutgers knowledge is very impressive.
He was able to stay at, quote unquote, stay at home. You know, he wasn't able to get into Ohio State for whatever reason. But his brother went to Bama. Like, it's a lot of talent across the country, and it's all about keeping guys home. It's very rare that guys are able to pull up that fence around the state like a la Tressel. It's very rare that the people are able to put up that fence like they did down in the U back in the late 90s and early 2000s. It's a very rare thing. Like, these talent-rich places get plucked all the time. Like, look at Kentucky. They're decent because they come up to Ohio to get their talent. And that's a reason why Michigan State's not good anymore, because their talent isn't coming from Ohio anymore.
Wow. Really, in the middle of you saying that, let's talk about, when we come back, a local kid, one of the most talented high school football players in this area, decommitted from Michigan, Marcus Allen, out of Northmont. I'm, by the way, getting to call high school football games, not just in the GWAC, but locally the last couple of years. I mean, I love all the talent that we have in this area. He's one of the most fun kids to watch. He decommitted from Michigan.
That just happened?
He decommitted from Michigan a while ago.
Okay.
He just committed to a new team. And it's not the Ohio State Buckeyes, but he is within the Big Ten. So we'll talk about that when we come back. But Marcus Allen, shout out to him. I'm happy for him. I think this is going to be a good fit. So we're going to talk about that when we come back. Marcus Allen, Northmont. He commits. We're going to talk about where. Plus, we got some questions for you about your Steelers coming up. Some Matt Sturgeon and some others are saying, hey, a question for Kev. So we're going to have an Ask Kev segment coming up. Now, we'll talk a little Bearcat football, too, coming up, because they're intriguing me. There's I don't know. They're intriguing me. We got our top 6 coming up next. Don't go anywhere.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash.
Justin, you're awesome, baby.
Right here on 1410 ESPN Radio.
Fever is a leading symptom of the coronavirus, so take your temperature twice a day with the Exergen Temporal Scanner. It's quick and easy to use, and its accuracy is backed by more than 80 clinical studies. Have your family start and end their day with the only home thermometer used and recommended by hospitals, doctors, and nurses. Your family can take their temperatures in seconds to know where they stand in the fight against COVID-19. Protect your family from the spread of this deadly disease and stay safe with Exergen.
And now another edition of Obvious News from Geico. A study says that soft talkers do not make great radio personalities. We asked local librarian Steve Sage about this, and here's what he said.
Honestly, I don't buy it. I think I make very captivating radio.
Also in Obvious News, Geico makes it easy to save money and easy to manage your policy with the Geico app. So switching is a really smart decision. How does Steve feel about this?
I love the Geico app. I use it all the time.
That's Obvious News from Geico.
College football, it's the game you wake up early on Saturdays for, even though kickoff isn't until 7. The game where the Goodyear blimp becomes a Hall of Famer. The game that goes just beyond school spirit, fandom, or love of the sport. It's the game where the comebacks happen. It's the game where anything can and will happen, as long as you have the drive. Because college football is the game that moves you. We get it because it moves us too. Goodyear, more driven.
There's never any FOMO with the iHeartRadio app. You won't ever have to miss out on your favorite shows and contests with this radio station again. Radio 24/7, 365. We're here when you want us. Stay connected and listen anywhere when you download the free iHeartRadio app.
Now at Menards, save big money on your next project with 11% off everything. Save today on Procter & Gamble cleaning products. They make life simple with products that you can trust from Tide, Downy, Dawn, and Swiffer. Stock up on Procter & Gamble cleaning supplies and get 11% off. Get 11% off everything now at Menards. Good through Saturday, November 7th. Savings are mail-in rebate. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
Save big money at Menards.
Fall is all about feel-good food and family. This fall, get a home-style meal on the go that everyone will love. Stop by Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken for a 12-piece spicy bonus box for only $23.99. Home-style can happen anywhere with 12 mixed pieces of Lee's Spicy Classic Chicken, a large mashed potatoes and gravy, and a large coleslaw, all at a great price. Get a home-style meal made easy with our 12-piece spicy bonus box for only $23.99. Only at Lee's, famous for chicken.
Order! Continue, Ms. Garner.
With the Capital One Venture Card, you earn unlimited double miles on every purchase every day.
Objection! My credit card doesn't earn double miles on every purchase.
I object to your objection. With the Capital One Venture Card, you earn unlimited double miles on every purchase.
Order!
And right now, earn 100,000 bonus miles when you spend $20,000 in your first year.
I'll allow it.
No further questions, Your Honor. Well, just one. What's in your wallet?
Limited time offer. Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com for details.
Listening to this Allstate commercial about savings might be the hardest thing about getting those savings. Save for simply becoming an Allstate customer. Save more for adding DriveWise. And save even more for driving safely. Visit Allstate.com or contact your local agent for a quote today. Allstate. Minimum effort, maximum reward.
Not available in every state. New customer savings based on early signing discount. DriveWise is an optional feature. Savings vary based on how you buy. Subject to terms and conditions. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
OHMB 803342 and MLS 304138. Do you need help with a loan to purchase or refinance your home? Have you applied for a home loan and been told you do not qualify for a loan? Are you a first-time buyer and have questions regarding the home buying process? Are you considering refinancing your existing home? Do you live in Ohio, Kentucky, Indiana, Florida, or South Carolina? If you answered yes to any of the above questions, you need to call Forrest Ferris at 3rd Street Financial Home Loans at 513-320-5911, who is available 7 days a week to help you. We're 3rd Street Financial Home Loans, and Forrest Ferris specializes in approving home loans banks and other lenders cannot or will not approve. Some of our clients might have low credit scores, been through a divorce, want to buy a home for sale by owner, are in a land contract, or dealing with probate or estate homes. Call Forrest now for a free estimate. 513-320-5911. That's 513-320-5911. Offer valid for purchase or refinancing of homes located in Ohio, Kentucky, Indiana, Florida, and South Carolina only. Minimum loan amount $60,000. Limitations and restrictions apply.
Attention Class A CDL drivers. Looking to be more than just a number? Yoel Transportation in Dayton is looking for drivers with at least 1.5 years experience. Yoel has open positions for no-tarp flatbed drivers and no-touch regional or local van drivers. Yoel is ELD compliant and offers 401k with match, medical, dental, vision, holiday pay, vacation, safety bonuses, and now has a rider policy. Call Rick or Joe at 937-294-5933 and ask about the $5,000 sign-on bonus today.
At Meadowbrook at Clayton, our state-of-the-art golf simulators are ready for play. Book your tee times now and get our special rate of $15 per half hour for up to 4 people per simulator. Here's your chance to play some of the great golf courses around the world, including Kiowa Island, Harbor Town, and Spain's Valderrama. Weekday and weekend hours are available, and safe prepackaged snacks and drinks are only steps away. Go online to meadowbrookatclayton.com for details. Everyone is welcome, so call and reserve your times now.
Staples helps your business go big with everything you need at amazing prices. From office essentials like paper and ink to health essentials like masks and sanitizer. Save big at Staples.
It's time for some straight talk. Look, we all drop our phones. It happens. You fumble it, crack it, splash it. Well, Straight Talk Wireless now offers this new Platinum Unlimited plan that includes phone protection. Just $65 a month for unlimited talk, text, and data, plus 20 gigs of hotspot, 100 gigs of cloud storage, and more. All on the best network. Straight Talk Wireless, no contract, no compromise. See Mobile Protect terms and conditions at Assurion.com/Straight Talk. Limitations and exclusions apply.
At the Home Depot, we improve things. This holiday season, we've improved Black Friday. Instead of one day of crazy, we've lowered prices now, and they'll stay low all season. From decorations to dishwashers, wreaths to ratchet sets. So sleep in. You're not going to miss Black Friday. Not one little bit. Black Friday improved. The best prices of the year already here at the Home Depot. How doers get more done. U.S. only while supplies last. See store for details.
So how are singles dating during the pandemic? Well, Match did the research, and here's the scoop from the Singles in America study. It turns out video dating isn't just awkwardly staring through the phone. 56% of all singles who video dated during the pandemic felt romantic chemistry, and 68% used video dating to determine if they wanted to go on an IRL date. And people are getting real. 69% said that they're being more honest with potential partners. So are you ready to try something new? Download the Match app for free today.
Hiring can be challenging, but ZipRecruiter makes it fast and easy. We talked to Monica Starks, who needed to hire for her company, GS Group.
As the owner of a construction company, finding the right people is a very difficult task. So I use ZipRecruiter.
ZipRecruiter finds the right people for your job and actively invites them to apply.
With ZipRecruiter, we've hired everyone from accountants to project managers to field scientists.
And now you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free. At ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Starting route. Your destination is 0.1 miles away.
If you drive less than
500 feet, turn left. You have arrived at your destination.
If you drive less than 25 miles a day, you could be paying less every day with pay-per-mile car insurance from Allstate. You get the same reliable coverage and hands-on expertise you'd expect from Allstate, but now at a price that's tailored to the miles you drive.
Call your local Allstate agent and start paying what's right for you. Includes a daily rate. Prices vary based on how you buy. Subject to terms, conditions, and availability. Not applicable in California. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and its affiliates.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today? Of course we can help you with that oil change. Doing it yourself is a great way to save some money. Right now you can get 5 quarts of Pennzoil high mileage motor oil and an STP oil filter for just $27.99. And we've got even more ways to get it. Just order online with our next day delivery or free same day store pickup. Getting the job done just got easier. Restrictions at AutoZone.com.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
If you need to hire, you need Indeed. You instantly get a list of quality candidates from Indeed's resume database the moment you sponsor a job. Get started at Indeed.com/credit.
NFL fans, the season is finally here. Get your picks submitted at wingam.com. Click on contest and enter the Pro Football Challenge. Weekly winners will win $20 in Frickers Fun Bucks. Get to wingam.com and get your NFL picks submitted now.
Touchdown! Incredible!
Good luck. College football playoffs, Browns, Bengals, Buckeyes, and more. Catch the Keith Fire Show Mondays at noon on 1410 ESPN Radio. It's the ESPN Dayton hashtag We Want to Get Paid Cash Contest. Be listening every hour for the word that wins and enter it at wingam.com. WING 1410 Dayton, Dayton's ESPN Radio. It's the Justin Kinner Show, live here on ESPN Dayton, 1410 Wing AM. Tweet the show at 1410 Kinner or give us a call at 457-9464. We now send you to the Wing Studios in Kettering. Here's your host, Justin Kinner.
And we are back. Justin Kinner, Kevin Nash with you here on a Friday. Kev's even in a good mood. It's almost as if like you feel like you have a couple days where people aren't going to bug you and wait till the last minute to ask you to do some things. I feel like that's kind of what's going on right now.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed, man. Just happy we're going to have some good weather this weekend. I'm going to barbecue a little bit. Watch the Buckeyes. Going to watch a ton of football this weekend. I can't wait.
No kidding. Real quick, we're going to get into if the college football playoff poll came out today, we're going to give what our college football playoff poll would look like again. Actually, it's not really so much about what it would look like today. We're going to let you know what we think the college football playoff poll is going to look like when it's all said and done. So we're going to get to that coming up here. Just a few moments. Nebraska, Northwestern, we talked about that. Another big game in the Big Ten coming up this weekend. How about Michigan State and Iowa? Iowa, a 6.5-point favorite at home. And again, Iowa's at home welcoming in Michigan State, who's 1-1, had a very bad loss against Maryland to start the season. And then they turn around and get a huge win over a top 25 Michigan team. Again, getting that. I mean, how about Mel Tucker?
No, they lost to Rutgers.
Or lost to Rutgers, sorry.
6 turnovers.
Lost to, yeah, oofa. But lost to Rutgers. And then they turn around and beat beat top 25 Michigan. So, but they get that, Mel Tucker gets that rivalry win. And again, hopefully that's the kind of win for them that can kind of get them back, kind of get to buy into themselves a little bit. But they're on the road. They're at 0-2 Iowa. Again, Iowa 6.5-point favorite over the Spartans. We'll see about how that matchup's going to unfold right there. Maryland on the road at Penn State. Penn State's 0-2. They fell out of the top 25. This was a team that 2 weeks ago, keep in mind, we're heading into only technically week 3 of the Big Ten season. 3 weeks ago, Kev, this was a team that everyone thought with Ohio State that this could be the potential year that 2 Big Ten teams get into the college football playoff. And obviously now that's not a possibility. 0-2. I mean, right now they're favored by 25.5. This Maryland team, they looked really, really bad one week, really, really good the next. Tua Tagovailoa's brother, I mean, that's the disrespect he gets. He's Tua Tagovailoa's brother. I'm just going to say Tagovailoa, I'm a fan of his. He's interesting to me, and he looked really good last week. Does Maryland turn it around? Do they get a big win? Does Penn State go to 0-3? There's no way.
Man, you know what? We have to realize, man, a lot of these guys are going to check out mentally now that they can't play for a national championship. Like
that's the James Franklin way, by the way.
Like you said, with all that hype coming into the season, with the potential of the Big Ten getting 2 teams in the college football playoff and that other team potentially being Penn State, without that motivation, without that carrot to dangle out there in a COVID year, do guys start saying, all right, man, that's it, man, I'm going to pro, I'm about to go start training for the NFL? Or do guys just say, man, call me next year when it's a regular season and we actually got something to play for? So that's not just Penn State. That's a lot of teams across the country. That's potentially what's going to happen between the winner and loser of the Georgia-Florida game as well, because I believe everybody's still in it when you have one loss. But once you get that second loss, you're out. So whoever comes out of this Florida-Georgia game, they're going to have a second loss. So do a lot of those guys that have NFL dreams and NFL aspirations, do they check out and say, I'm about to go train for the league? We're about to start finding out, man.
You bring up that Georgia-Florida game. How about this? So everyone knows what's going on. We're not talking politics, but it is a little bit of a political swerve right here. This tweet just came out a little bit ago that this Georgia elections official, we're kind of all just sitting here waiting patiently. You have no choice but to be patient. And, but we just want this damn election to hurry up and wrap up. I mean, and I'm not talking about all the outside chatter, but come on, we've been sitting here for days now. But this Georgia elections official, on finishing counting the ballots, he was asked about it today, and he is, to the media says, our hope would be today, but that they could continue counting ballots into tomorrow. He goes, everyone's exhausted. It's Friday, and there's a Georgia game tomorrow. Are you kidding me? Like, we're talking about, we need you to hurry up and count these ballots. We're talking about, trying to figure out who's going to be the leader of our country for the next 4 years. And this mofo has the nerve to say, look, we might get it done today. We might not. We're all tired. There's a Georgia game tomorrow. Come on. We priorities, man. Try to figure out who's going to lead our country for 4 years. Or Georgia, Florida. I mean, folks, people get angry when people say that people get angry when people say it just means more in the SEC. But how can you argue that logic when you have boobs like this who actually just go to the media and say, we'd love to get the ballots counted today. We'd love to hurry up and get to the end of this election so we can figure out who's leading our country for the next 4 years. But that's going to have to wait. Mr. President Trump, you're going to have to, wait a little longer. Biden, don't start celebrating it. We don't have this count done yet because Georgia, Florida tomorrow, baby. We'll resume on Sunday. I mean, come on.
You remember that Chappelle skit where keeping it real goes wrong? That's what this is. We know we're football fanatics. Everybody loves sports. Everybody loves some good college football and everything like that. You may be thinking this. You may even be saying this inside the office, but you don't go in front of the media and say that on a microphone.
I mean, this is insane. Again, it's an elections. This Georgia elections official was asked about finishing counting the ballots, and he goes, our hope would be today, but it could slip into tomorrow. Keep in mind, everyone's exhausted. It's Friday, and there's a Georgia game tomorrow. I mean, come on. Take his mic away. For the love of all that is holy. My goodness, what is wrong with you? But speaking of that matchup that, one of those opponents is potentially go, what you said, 0-2 or whatever at this point. So let's talk 0-2, shall we? The battle of 0-2s. Illinois 0-2 at home. The Fighting Lovey Smiths welcoming in, what was once viewed as rowing the boat is now being viewed as man overboard. 0-2, Minnesota. Minnesota looking for their first win of the season. They are 7-point favorites. It's a 3:30 kickoff on the Big Ten Network. Minnesota, they get their first win.
You would imagine so. You would imagine so with the hype that they had coming into the season, where Rashad Bateman coming back to school.
Think he regrets that?
I mean, I would.
He has 14 catches for 163 yards 2 games into the season. So
he's still balling.
It's not.
He's still doing
horrible.
his thing.
Like some of those catches to be in the end zone, right?
Exactly. Like they're not winning games, and like that's what I'm talking about with guys starting to check out. Like he was already gone. Training for the NFL, and then like, all right, man, I'll come back because I love my guys, I love my team, yada, 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 all that mushy stuff, and now you're losing. So it's like, time to start looking out for team me. So that's going to start happening.
Absolutely. So the next one up, Purdue, Wisconsin, canceled. Not even postponed. It doesn't even say postponed. It just says canceled. Purdue was 2-0. They're rolling. Like this is another opponent that Wisconsin, who by the way,
Rondale Moore.
In Wisconsin, they're 1-0 on the season. They're number 10 in the country. And there's already rumblings of them. They may not play another game for the rest of the season. There's talk of them just saying, well, look, if we can't even get enough games in to qualify for the Big Ten championship game, there's no need to just continue this. I mean, we're spending money on meaningless games. I mean, how much money is it costing them to continue to, have these games each week, and you're not even going to, there's no end goal. You're just playing just to play. I mean, we see that here, I guess, like in high school, they were allowed to play up to 10 games. Some teams would get eliminated from the OHSA state playoffs 1 week, and then they're right back at it, like Fairmont. They got knocked out of the playoffs. The very next week, boom, they're out on the field playing again. Centerville got knocked out of the playoffs, against, I believe, Wayne. Yeah, we did that game against Wayne. Very next week, they're back out on the field playing again. Those are meaningless games, but they're not in the big scheme of things. You get 4 years with these kids, and every time you could get out on the field is a good thing. But from Wisconsin, I found that interesting, that article that we came across that said, hey, they might just pull the plug in the rest of the season. So
and
still a lot to be played there.
Also saw that them potentially turning Camp Randall Stadium into a makeshift hospital. Like the numbers up there in Camp Randall are crazy, man. It's like crazy numbers through the roof, man. So we're praying for everybody up there.
Yeah. Speaking of Wisconsin, by the way, Marcus Allen from Northmont has committed to Wisconsin. He decommitted from Michigan, staying in the Big Ten, not going to play for Ohio State University, of course. They were, I believe, he was on their radar.
Yeah,
he was on theirs. But it's one of those things where he's still going to be playing in the Big Ten, and I'm going to be pulling from. I always love when we tune into those games. I mean, you had the Bowser kid that's playing for Northwestern. There's local kids all over. The Wisconsin has. We talked about him during the break. Oh, great radio right here. Davis, of course. So, really good. A lot of talent in this area that's still playing at that Big Ten level. So it's going to be it. But congratulations to him,
Absolutely,
by the way. Marcus Allen, who loved calling his games and watching his games the last couple of years. Last but not least, out of the Big Ten, a top 25 matchup. Michigan, Indiana. Number 23, Michigan, 1-1 on the road, by the way, at Indiana. They're number 13. They're 2-0. Michigan's favored by 3.5. I'm picking Indiana. I want that Ohio State-Michigan game to mean something at the end, but you know what? Indiana is more interesting to me right now. So I'm going to roll. I'm going to roll with Indiana. I think Indiana gets a win. By the way, Michigan, you're only a 3.5-point favorite against Indiana. So I'm picking Indiana in this.
I want to go with Indiana because I'm a big Michael Penix Jr. fan, but I just don't think so. I don't think that they have enough on defense. I don't think they're going to be getting those gift turnovers that Penn State gave them in week 1. I think Michigan is going to really commit to running the ball instead of throwing the ball 50-something times like they did last week. And I think over time they're just going to pound Indiana. And I don't think that Michael Penix Jr. can make enough plays. I think they're going to need to score at least 30, mid-30s to win that game.
So Michigan, again, one more time, a 3.5-point favorite at Indiana.
What time that game? Come on.
That is a noon kick. It's a noon kick
Big
at
noon
Indiana.
Kick, baby.
Noon kick. It's on Fox Sports 1, by the way. So
I might not be leaving the house.
Noon kick at Indiana. Number 13, Indiana, welcoming in number 23, Michigan. Michigan only a 3.5-point favorite. The over-under is 54. So when you were giving your prediction there, I was just curious if that changes. Taking the over.
Over.
It's going to be a good one. I never thought I'd say Michigan, Indiana. That's a game I'm really circling out, But again, the matchup itself for Ohio State's not intriguing to me. It's the matchup within the game itself that I'm going to be looking forward to seeing Jack Miller and Stroud and those guys. I can't believe I'm saying this, but the less of our Heisman candidate, Justin Fields, we see this weekend, the better. If he's playing deep into the fourth quarter, that means something's really, really wrong. So I don't anticipate that.
So to be clear, you don't care about the Heisman Trophy, especially this season.
I don't what?
You don't care about the Heisman Trophy?
No, I care about I care about it. I just think that you should never care about the Heisman more than you care about aligning yourself to be able to win a national championship and make the playoff.
Right.
If you're keeping Justin Fields, and I'm not saying that this is going to happen or that they're going to think that, but if you're keeping Justin Fields out, in a limited season, shorter season, if you're keeping him out there just because you need him to pad his stats to keep him in the Heisman running, I think that's wrong, especially if you're up big against Rutgers, because there's bigger things to worry about, big picture, than just trying to get him to win the Heisman. Justin Fields' name is big enough. He has the respect around college football that people are going to say, oh, man, he only threw for 198 yards and he only threw for 3 touchdowns. He only played a half, folks.
Yeah.
That's a pretty efficient half. That means that's 400 yards and 6 touchdowns if you play 2 halves, if my math serves me right. So there you go. All right, as we close our college football portion of the conversation out, Kev, our college football playoff top 6. You and I did this last year. Of course, this always irritated people if you didn't have Ohio State exactly where you wanted them. But we're going to give you our college football playoff top 6 right here. I'm going to start my top 4, and again, this really, and I think ours is the same, if I'm not mistaken, or at least very close, but we're going to give you our top 4 and the next 2 out.
Okay.
The 5 and 6, the 2 just on the outside looking in. And I don't know about you, I never, when the poll shows do start here in a few weeks, I never pay attention to who's 1, 2, 3, and 4. I'm obsessed with who's always at 5 and 6 because that's the drama.
Yeah.
That you'll have petty fans within the top 4 that are like, we should be 1 instead of 2.
Right.
Just get it. If you got an invite to the party, who cares?
Right.
The toughest thing is getting that damn invite to the party. So if you have an invite to the party, just relax, chill out. What's that saying? Why are you hating from outside of the club? You can't even get in. How about that, huh? My cool points just went up. Is that impressive?
Very.
All right. So if you are the 2 on the outside, why are you hating from outside the club? You can't even get in. The 5 and 6 always interests me the most. So if you're watching live on Facebook, head to Facebook, search the Justin Kinner Show. Also on Twitter at 1410 Kinner, KINNER. And then, of course, ESPN Dayton's YouTube channel. But follow along. And right there you have my college football playoff top 6. The top 4 that I believe will be in the playoff in this order, as well as the 5 and 6 just barely on the outside looking in. Number 1, I have Clemson. That's their spot to lose. Their spot to lose. I think Alabama, coming in at number 2 is fair. Those are the top 2 teams that we all kind of circled along with Ohio State coming in. Ohio State's only number 2 I have it wrong on here, but Clemson's 1, Alabama's 2. I have Ohio State at 3.
Mm-hmm.
Ohio State, do you remember when the first ranking came out? Where were they? Before they reshuffled it, and you don't need to look anything up. I'm just curious if you remember. They were number 2, correct?
You mean this season?
Yeah, when the AP came out this year, because they
were number.
I think they were number 2.
I think they were number 2.
Either way, it's not. You don't have to go, but either way, at this point, so I'm like, okay, I have Clemson 1, Alabama 2, Ohio State 3, and I do have Notre Dame at number 4. I have Notre Dame at number 4 mainly because right now they're undefeated. They have some wins. It is what it is. Mainly too because the 2 on the outside looking in also have a loss, and Notre Dame doesn't have a loss right now. So that's why I have Notre Dame at number 4. But just like we talked about with Jason Fitz earlier this week, I don't anticipate them being at number 4 after this weekend, unless they get a win over Clemson, which I don't see happening. Now, Clemson is only a 5.5?
Yeah, no, 5.
5-point favorite. I don't anticipate it being that close. I am saying this even though I have Notre Dame in my 4. I can't look at them and put them in that same category as Clemson to think it's only going to be a 5-point game. I think Clemson blows them out, but for right now, with where we're at with the resumes, I have Notre Dame at 4.
Notre Dame win that game, they're the number 1 team?
If they beat Clemson, no, you know what? Notre Dame will get the treatment of, well, you beat them without Trevor Lawrence.
I'm talking about it in the Kinner poll.
Oh, no, they won't be number 1.
Because they don't have Trevor Lawrence.
I know this sounds bad, but I think Notre Dame, even if they beat Clemson, they would have the best win of any team in college football right now. Right now, Alabama has the best win of any team in college football with their win over Georgia. But if Notre Dame beats Clemson, I'm probably keeping them at 4. And I'm probably, depending on how Alabama looks this weekend, putting Ohio State, either moving Alabama up to 1, depending on how they look, and Ohio State 2, and dropping Clemson to 3. Because I'm still not going to I'm going to give Notre Dame enough respect to say I'm going to keep you in my top 4 because you beat Clemson, but I'm not going to give you enough respect to leapfrog Clemson because you beat him without Trevor Lawrence. I'm not trolling. I'm being serious. Like that's a tough one. The mental gymnastics here. This is the COVID gymnastics of how much stock do you put into a team without their star player. I think Clemson wins, but if you're just tuning in, the Justin Kinner College Football Playoff top 4 or top 6, Kev's going to give his in a second. But my number 5 team on the outside looking in, Texas A&M. And number 6 is Georgia. This is going to shake up a lot. A lot of people have another team out that we'll talk about here in a moment on the outside looking in. But as we talked about yesterday, the college football playoff to me has never been about the 4 best teams. It has always been about the 4 best resumes, which is why Georgia sitting there, even with lost to Alabama, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It's a bad loss. I do have them as my number 6, but there's not a lot of other teams I look out there and think that a resume is better as far as the wins that they have too. So this is all going to shake up in the coming weeks. But for what I have right now, Clemson 1, Alabama 2, Ohio State 3, Notre Dame 4, with Texas A&M at 5 and Georgia 6.
I have the exact same 1, 2, 3, 4 with Clemson, Bama, Ohio State, and Notre Dame. But I have different number 5 and number 6. At number 6, the Fighting Jimbo Fishers.
Jimbo.
My guy, Jimbo, helped my squad win the national championship. Shouts out to Jimbo Fisher with Texas A&M at number 6. And number 5, them Bearcats from down in Cincinnati. Shouts out to Coach Fickle. Shouts out to everybody down there playing some real good football. I just think that the way they've been playing recently, not just winning games, but blowing opponents out, doing what they're supposed to do offensively and defensively. Desmond Ridder, the way he's playing the ball, not only passing the ball, but running the ball way better than I thought he could ever run his own read, because last year he was terrible on his own read. Maybe it's because they had a very talented running back, but he was bad on his own read last year. This year he's popping 80-yard runs on his own read plays. And, going on the road and beating a team that's your favorite, that they were favored over you by 5 points, and actually blowing them out is a feather in the cap for me. So UC is my number 5 team right now on the outside looking in. So I guess no matter what, they're still on the outside looking in. They are undefeated.
And it's just one of those where what else can Cincinnati do at this point to potentially, crack that top 4? Cincinnati is one of those where your job is to just hover.
Yep.
Your job is to win and hover, and you're going to need help. Yep. Because winning out's not going to guarantee you anything other than the shot to be in.
Yep.
So that's the deal. If you're Cincinnati, keep winning. Be a fly, be one of those gnats that just every time you swat it out of the way, it just comes back. It's right there. Be annoying, be a gnat. Don't do everything you can to stay in the picture, because if it comes down to that final week and a top team goes down, you're going to be the one that benefits from it. Yep. Cincinnati, I think that the committee is ready to be a little bit more open-minded for a non-top 20 or for a non-Power 5 program. But at the same time, I still think that the sense of, hey, it's not just about the 4 best teams. We make such a big deal about resumes and about, you're going to see the shows. They're going to all of a sudden start pointing at, oh, well, look, here's this team's list of quality wins, and here's this team's list of quality wins. No matter how good we try to say that, oh, man, Fickle has that defense rolling, when you have to put up their list of good wins, it just doesn't look right. Like, I mean, it's not an elitist mentality. Just look at it. Like, I mean, based on with how they kind of have everything aligned. So Cincinnati, by the way, has Houston at home.
That's one to mark.
Let me ask you this, though. If Ohio State had Houston coming into the shoe this weekend, what would the line be?
Probably I would imagine 24, 25.
So if we are talking about Cincinnati being deserving of being a top 4 team, a playoff team, any playoff team would have a significant line prediction over this team. I think a 13-point line is that's weird to me. Now, I think there's the conference factor too. They play each other tighter in conference maybe, but that's all. Cincinnati,
but in the Kenner world, 11-point victory is a blowout.
Whatever. Okay. So my point is, we got Houston coming in. If Ohio State was going to play Houston, Ohio State's the number 3 team in the country right now. You would think that the gap between 3 and 6 shouldn't be that big, but it is in this case. And Ohio State, let's say even Notre Dame. Notre Dame would probably be plus 21 or minus 21 in this game going up against Houston. And then there's Cincinnati minus 13. Look at those things. Like, those things matter. Like, to me, those things matter. But it is what. Last point here, because this is where I'm going to expose Buckeye fans who are trying to say all the nice and right things about this situation. Ryan Day goes to the NFL, searching for a coach. Luke Fickell says, I want to be the coach of the Buckeyes. Are we still doing cartwheels and saying, oh, man, yes, bring Luke Fickell here?
I don't necessarily think we're doing cartwheels, but if he took the job now as opposed to when he took over before, he's a lot more experienced. It isn't a situation where the half is not half with your starting quarterback, your starting running back, your superstar wide receiver. Like, all your star players are basically suspended for the entire year. It's not a situation with that. Like, I always thought that Fickell got a bad rap for that season. Like, it's like, yo, like, he had Joe Bowserman out there starting games, bruh. Joe Bowserman. Like, it's not the same. Wasn't the same team that Trussell was coaching. I believe if he had the same team Trussell was coaching, they'd have been exactly where they're supposed to be. And I think him coaching at UC these last couple years has done him so much. Him being able to see the game from a bigger perspective as opposed to just tunnel vision, thinking about defense. He sees it as a CEO role. And I think all this coaching at UC has helped him out tremendously. If he comes to Ohio State, the pressure's going to be on, because not only did he, you know what I'm saying, we can say he failed as a head coach at Ohio State for a short tenure as an interim coach, but he also succeeded as a defensive coordinator, helping them win a national championship, and he's succeeding at UC. So you're coming home, so the pressure is going to be on, like, to keep the train rolling.
Yeah, it just, like I said, when you look at that line for Houston this weekend, 13, Houston's 2-2. You're 6-0, number 6 in the country. And you're 13-point favorite over a team that Ohio State and Notre Dame and everyone else would be 21-plus point favorites over. That's always strange to me. But now I feel like Ohio State fans would not be thrilled if there was a head coaching opening at Ohio State. You know, as much as we praise Fickell now, I still don't think people would be screaming, make sure that he becomes the next head coach of the Buckeyes. You know who I think is working his way up that conversation is Brian Hartline, who still needs to cut. You know, he needs to get a couple more years under his belt. But I think Hartline, I mean, he is
just catching passes in the NFL like 4 months ago.
But just from what he's done on the recruiting trail, and Fickell's doing a good job on the recruiting trail for Cincinnati. You know, but would that carry? I mean, you would think it would carry over to Ohio State just because the brand carries itself alone. It's what you do with that brand when you're out on the recruiting trail.
So who would you dial up?
What
if Ryan Day said, you know what, I'm going to the Dallas Cowboys to take over there? Who you dialing up?
A big noon kickoff. Find a new, get someone new, because Urban Meyer, he's coming home. Urban, baby. Urban. All right. We'll talk some NFL. We got our Week 9 NFL picks coming up around the corner, plus a little baseball conversation for you. ESPN put out their predictions for what move they think every NFL team or what every Major League Baseball team will do in free agency. And they don't have the Reds getting Francisco Lindor or Trevor Bauer, but they do have 2 big names potentially playing in Cincinnati next year. We'll touch on that around the corner. We'll also get into some NBA draft talk with Matt Babcock from Babcock Hoops, talking about, of course, Obi Toppin and the Dayton Flyers. That's coming up. Let's talk a little NFL when we come back. Our Week 9 NFL picks. Don't go anywhere.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash on 1410 ESPN Radio. ESPN 1410 Wing AM weather.
This afternoon will be clear and sunny with a high near 72. Tonight's also going to be clear with a low around 43. And tomorrow will be clear and sunny with a high near 73. I'm Pete Spivak for 1410 ESPN Radio.
Weather is brought to you by Cullet Propane. 98% of their customers recommend Cullet. If you wouldn't recommend your current supplier, check them out at culletpropane.com.
O'Reilly. This is Jesse's O'Reilly Auto Parts story.
As a nurse, not making it to work was not an option. But driving through the snow with my wiper blades struggling, I just didn't feel safe. So I pulled into O'Reilly Auto Parts, and before I knew it, an employee was offering to install the wiper blades on my car. I got to stay out of the snow for a moment, and I still made it to work on time.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Hiring can be challenging, but ZipRecruiter makes it fast and easy. We talked to Monica Starks, who needed to hire for her company, GS Group.
As the owner of a construction company, finding the right people is a very difficult task. So I use ZipRecruiter.
ZipRecruiter finds the right people for your job and actively invites them to apply.
With ZipRecruiter, we've hired everyone from accountants to project managers to field scientists.
And now you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free. At ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
So how are singles dating during the pandemic? Well, Match did the research, and here's the scoop from the Singles in America study. It turns out video dating isn't just awkwardly staring through the phone. 56% of all singles who video dated during the pandemic felt romantic chemistry, and 68% used video dating to determine if they wanted to go on an IRL date. And people are getting real. 69% said that they're being more honest with potential partners. So are you ready to try something new? Download the Match app for free today.
Hiring can be challenging, but ZipRecruiter makes it fast and easy. We talked to Monica Starks, who needed to hire for her company, GS Group.
As the owner of a construction company, finding the right people is a very difficult task. So I use ZipRecruiter.
ZipRecruiter finds the right people for your job and actively invites them to apply.
With ZipRecruiter, we've hired everyone from accountants to project managers to field scientists.
And now you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free. At ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Starting route. Your destination is 0.1 miles away.
If you drive less than
500 feet, turn left. You have arrived at your destination.
If you drive less than 25 miles a day, you could be paying less every day with pay-per-mile car insurance from Allstate. You get the same reliable coverage and hands-on expertise you'd expect from Allstate, but now at a price that's tailored to the miles you drive.
Call your local Allstate agent and start paying what's right for you. Includes a daily rate. Prices vary based on how you buy. Subject to terms, conditions, and availability. Not applicable in California. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and its affiliates.
T-Mobile for Business knows saving time and money is important for your business. That's why we're introducing Microsoft 365 on us, now included in our best business plans. With Office apps, Microsoft Teams, cloud storage, and more, Microsoft 365 on us gives you the tools you need to run your business. Stop by a T-Mobile store today. Qualifying plan required. Contactless to activate. 1 license per line, max 2 per account. Third-party terms apply. See T-Mobile.com for plan details.
Napa know-how.
At Napa, you can get 20% off 3 or more items with the $4.99 Napa Tool Bag. Yep, 20% off power tools, 20% off wipers, 20% off oil, and more. It's a whole bag of tricks. Well, actually, it's one trick over and over again, but it's a good one, saving you 20% on 3 or more items. Quality parts, helpful people. That's Napa know-how.
Napa know-how.
At participating locations, exclusions apply. May not be combined with other offers. Offer ends 11/30/20.
For the one standing guard, for the eagle-eyed, for the knights in shining armor, and for all those who support them. We are Grainger, your experienced safety partner, offering supplies and solutions for every industry, committed to helping keep your facilities safe and your people safer. Call, click Grainger.com/safety, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
It's time for some straight talk. Look, we all drop our phones. It happens. You fumble it, crack it, splash it. Well, Straight Talk Wireless now offers this new Platinum Unlimited plan that includes phone protection. Just $65 a month for unlimited talk, text, and data, plus 20 gigs of hotspot, 100 gigs of cloud storage, and more. All on the best network. Straight Talk Wireless, no contract, no compromise. See Mobile Protect terms and conditions at Asurion.com/straight talk. Limitations and exclusions apply.
Capital One checking and savings accounts have no fees or minimums, and a top-rated banking app that lets you manage your money anytime, anywhere, even from your favorite hiking trail. With Capital One's app, you can check your balance, deposit checks, pay bills, and transfer money from wherever you are, anytime you want, even when you're cooking dinner. Open a fee-free checking or savings account online in about 5 minutes. This is banking reimagined. Capital One, what's in your wallet?
Consumer accounts only. Approval required. Terms apply. Capital One N.A. member FDIC.
Progressive presents The Sounds of the Old World.
The year is 2019, and someone is waiting for a table at a restaurant.
Thompson, party of 4. Thompson, party of 4. Thompson, oh, there you are.
This has been The Sounds of the Old World.
Brought to you by Progressive, where drivers can still switch and save like it's 2019.
Quote today at progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today? Of course, we can help you with that oil change. Doing it yourself is a great way to save some money. Right now, you can get 5 quarts of Pennzoil high mileage motor oil and an STP oil filter for just $27.99. And we've got even more ways to get it. Just order online with our next day delivery or free same day store pickup. Getting the job done just got easier. Restrictions at AutoZone.com.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Lowe's has everything you need to celebrate home and go all out on decorating this year, like GE pre-lit artificial trees, now just $169. Lowe's, home for the holidays.
Follow ESPN 1410 Wing AM on Facebook to watch the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash. Listen, stream, and now watch. It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash, weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m. on 1410 ESPN Radio. On Twitter, make sure to give us a follow. Search 1410 Kinner for Justin Kinner on Twitter. That's 1410 KINNER. And ESPN Dayton for the station Twitter handle.
Well, I do have to give a shout out to Luke Fickell and the Cincinnati Bearcats because the guy just continues to kick ass on the recruiting trail. That is one thing that I think that, like, right now we're talking about, this is the best team that Luke Fickell's had in Cincinnati, but that's without really taking that program. Like, he's taking that program to the next level from a recruiting standpoint. I'd have to think if you're the Bearcats, you should feel pretty confident that he might stick around for a little bit, mainly because if you're Luke Fickell and you leave Cincinnati, you're going to be a hot commodity in the free agent coaching market in college football, but that's going to land you the middle jobs in each of the big conferences. But how do you get in a position to get one of the big jobs? Now, if Texas opens up because they move on from Herm Edwards and they offer him a job, I think he takes it. You should take it. I do believe he would have taken the Michigan State job. Like, I disagreed with Jason Fitz earlier in the week when he said, oh, you should feel good. He turned down the Michigan State job. He didn't. He turned down the state of that whole program right now. Yeah. I don't think he didn't turn down the job because he thought he could do better. I think he turned on the job because he thought they could be doing better than where they're, like, because he knows that 1 year with Ohio State, he's still trying to get rid of that perception because of boobs like me. There are guys like me who can't unsee what happened that year, even though we all know that that's not his fault. I know that that's not his fault. However, we have seen coaches who do more with less. He didn't do more with less. The roster wasn't night and day different the next year that Urban took to make them undefeated. That's not totally different, though. That program, when they hired Urban Meyer, the boost in confidence, the boost in approach is much different because no matter what Luke Fickell would have done at Ohio State, when you're named the interim, you don't have the attention of the locker room the way you do as the guy coming in. Luke Fickell's demand of the attention of the locker room at Cincinnati is much different than the demand of the locker room that he had the 1 year as the interim coach for Ohio State after the Tressel era. So whether people agree with it or not, I know you don't, but you have to understand, like, that perception matters. And that perception exists. Those conversations are, well, take a look at what he did the 1 year as interim coach with Ohio State. Those conversations happen in those boardrooms. But you know what Luke Fickell has going for him right now is that he does have the program set as a destination school right now. As crazy as that sounds, he just signed another 4-star. Earlier today, the Bearcats added another big-time 2022 commit, Mel Jordan, a 4-star linebacker out of Florida. Now, this is where you'll find this interesting because your school, Florida State, trying to figure it out still. He ranks as UC's highest-rated defensive recruit of the 24/7 Sports era. So that's a big deal because, they're locked in on all that. So the Bearcats have never had a higher commit, a higher recruit than what we've seen from Mel Jordan right now for the Bearcats. He had committed to Florida State, decommitted, and he picked Cincinnati over the Seminoles, of course. He picked the Bearcats. He picked the cold weather of Ohio, which we always say, man, how cool is that for Ohio State where they're out there and they're going in living rooms of players saying, hey, come play in the cold. Don't go play in the warm, comfortable weather in Texas or Florida or California at USC. Come play. We always overpraise guys like Ryan Day and Urban Meyer for being able to convince guys from those from those areas to come to Ohio to play football. that's not, I mean, you're convincing them to come play football at Ohio State. They're not thinking about the weather. They're thinking it's Ohio State. With Cincinnati, you really got to think about the weather. And they're thinking about the weather, and they're still saying, you know what, screw it. I'll play in the cold. I have enough faith in this dude that I'm going to go play in the American Conference. I'm going to go play in a non-Power 5 conference. Potentially, if you're Mel Jordan, don't act like you haven't had the thought process of, man, I'm a 4-star. I can go play at Florida where I might have a chance to play in a college football playoff. Florida State, I might have a shot. He turned down Miami. He turned down Florida. He turned down Florida State.
Turned down the whole state,
He
apparently.
turned down Arizona State. He turned down Herm Edwards. How can you turn down Herm Edwards? He turned down Pitt, South Carolina, Arkansas, and others. He picked Cincinnati. To me, those are the victory stories right there. Like, those are that's where I'm going to start giving him a ton of credit, is because it's tough when you're sitting in living rooms of players with coaches of programs that have more resources, that have more money, that have better weather, that play against better caliber opponents, that actually have a shot to make the playoff. And if he's doing this now with the perception that Cincinnati can't make the college football playoff, imagine what he would be able to do if they somehow find a way to crack the top 4 this year and make the college football playoff. Then you could maybe see him setting up shop, unless Cincinnati wouldn't have the resources to pay him like what he's supposed to be paid. But yeah, I think, I don't know. I mean, maybe he can get it done. But eventually, like I said, the problem with the college football playoff that we always talk about, it's never about the top 4 teams. And I don't know if Cincinnati's a top 4 team. We like to talk about them as if they are, but sometimes we fall in love with the narrative more than we do the actual reality of everything. The reality is, Kev, a one-loss Florida team just might still be better than Cincinnati. The reality is that a one-loss Texas A&M team probably still better than Cincinnati. But we love the Cinderella story. That's why we love March Madness. We love the Cinderella, those Cinderella runs. We love when, at the time, what I would view as a Cinderella story, UD going to the Elite Eight. Now, with the way Anthony Grant has them set up, like, you should expect that. I mean, the talent he has coming in, the perception's changed. But Cincinnati has to get to that point too, where we're not just looking at them as the cute little team out of the American. You're one of the big boys. The problem is the resume it doesn't reflect that. But that's my biggest concern, is I think we're falling in love with the narrative more than we are reality. And the reality is, there's a lot of one-loss teams that are probably still better than this undefeated Bearcats team right now.
It's equity. It's something I always talk about. You have to build up equity for other people to view you and give you that benefit of the doubt. And landing recruits like this kid is one of those things. Blowing opponents out is another thing. Do I think UC is going to go undefeated? No, I don't think they're going to go undefeated. It's very difficult to go undefeated. But when you're in a situation like you are at UC, you have to go undefeated, even though it's probably one of the most difficult things that you can do. Because when you do eventually lose, if they eventually lose, it gives you your ammunition. See, they're not worthy. You know what I'm saying? So that's why building equity, and that equity is winning games, and not only winning games, destroying your opponent like they've been doing the last couple of weeks. And then when you get those opportunities versus the Power 5 in those big time bowl games, you got to win those games too. But it's so difficult for teams like that to do it. Like we saw UCF do it, and people still didn't give them their props because people went to Auburn didn't want to be their card. And it's a uphill fighting battle. But I think that, coaches like that understand that going into the position, knowing the level of football that they're playing with, the level of competition they're playing, that it don't matter who we playing. We come out with a mindset to dominate. And when you build up that equity,
dominate on site.
I knew it was coming. I was supposed to have said that.
Inside joke, folks. Sorry.
When you build up that equity, you're hoping to change the minds of others. And when I say others, I mean people like you. I mean the people that's voting on these things in the college football playoff and everything like that. It's all about equity. And in a season that we're in, a COVID year, only thing UC can do, only thing they can control is to win the games. And just like you said, be in that. Be right there. Hey, don't forget about us. Don't forget about us. We're blowing our opponent out. We're winning games. And if these teams from Power 5 schools start losing guys to COVID and losing games, and guys starting checking out, like, man, I'm gonna go prepare for the NFL and stuff like that. Who's to say multiple losses can't happen on these teams? And then they say, you know what, we got to reward somebody for winning games. They're winning games. At some point, you do have to reward teams for winning games. It's almost like you say about how Georgia, Florida, Texas A&M, they have one loss. UC's undefeated. Who's a better team? You can't just simply go with them because they're undefeated. It's kind of like how I always tell my buddy, he's a New England Patriots fan. When they were undefeated in the Super Bowl and they lost to the New York Giants, I was like, technically, y'all a better team. Technically. But y'all lost the game that really matters. And that's what it does for UC. They have to win every game. They have to play every game like it's a Super Bowl to get that built up equity to cash in when the opportunity presents itself.
Yeah, but there are teams that play yeah, I know what you're saying, but I don't think that they're not being, when you say they got to be rewarded for winning. They're being rewarded for winning by even being in the conversation to begin with, considering the fact that you play nobody, considering the fact that you're not in a Power 5 conference, considering that your schedule doesn't even come close to sniffing the schedules of even the one-loss teams. Because I'm not even comparing Cincinnati to the Alabamas, Clemsons, and Ohio States of the world. Right now, if you are a Cincinnati fan, you're not paying attention to those three teams. You're paying attention to that number 4 spot. Because right. You could sit there and say shoot for the stars and blah blah blah, but stop. Let's be, we're lucky. You're lucky we're even at the point where we're considering the fact that there might be a path to get in, even though I think it's going to be very difficult. But you're paying attention to one-loss Georgia. You're paying attention to even an undefeated Notre Dame team, who they're going to be. We're going to find out just who Notre Dame is this week. Even without Trevor Lawrence playing at Clemson this week, we're going to find out just who Notre Dame is. Can you believe the last time these two teams played, the quarterback for Notre Dame was Deshaun Kaiser? Ooh. Who would go on to lead the legendary 0-16 Cleveland Browns, who the last I checked was the backup quarterback to Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay. I'm not sure if he's even in the league anymore.
He's still
last year.
League.
He is no longer the backup. Obviously, that's Jordan Love, but is he with the Raiders? They packed up a bunch of quarterbacks. They had Mariota and somebody.
I think Deshaun Kaiser is with the Cardinals.
With the Cardinals, either way. I know he was with the Packers last year, but either way, that matchup this week's going to be fun. But if you're Cincinnati, you're paying attention to Georgia. You're paying attention to Notre Dame. You got Texas A&M and Florida behind you. But Florida, they're going to be tested against Georgia. So Georgia probably is going to be number 4. If things go as what they're supposed to, most likely, if it goes chalk this weekend, Clemson beats Notre Dame, Georgia beats Florida, you're probably seeing Georgia bump up to that number 4 spot. You're probably going to see Cincinnati bump up to 5. Texas A&M technically could pass them, maybe. Who's Texas A&M have this weekend? We talked about this earlier when we were previewing these games. They have they're at South Carolina, so that win for it's a road game for them, and it is on ESPN. So that might go for them, but I don't think it's going to be enough to skyrocket them up, at 4-1 to 5-1 from 7 all the way up to 4. So Cincinnati just stay relevant. Keep winning. You're going to have to force them to tell you no.
Yep.
Force them to tell you no. It's a little different. The parallels stop at a certain point, but when you think about the Dayton Flyers this past season, they heard a lot of the same things. They heard a lot of the, oh my goodness, like the Duke fans and especially Iowa. It got real ugly between UD fans and Iowa fans, especially towards the end when we're talking about National Player of the Year, right. Luka Garza going up against Obi Toppin. It got ugly. Those fan bases, it got ugly, okay? And everything that we are saying about Cincinnati, Luka Garza and Iowa fans and Duke fans and others were saying the same thing about UD. UD going to be a number 3 team in the country? Oh, it's easy to be the number 3 team in the country when you got to play Fordham, when you got to play the A-10.
Right.
All right. They got disrespected too, the way Cincinnati is in football. The sports are a little different. We're talking about only 4 invitations versus 68, but there's only 4 technically number 1 seeds. And that's really where UD started ruffling feathers. Duke fans were pissed. What do you mean? Yeah, we got more losses. Okay, yeah. But look who we play versus look who Dayton plays. So Dayton was hearing the same exact things that Cincinnati is playing. That's why I'm so bummed that we couldn't see UD make play in the NCAA tournament, because they could have had a chance to shut people up. That's the one thing about basketball is you have teams like the Flyers who would have the shot to shut people up, to where sometimes Cincinnati, teams like the Bearcats, and we saw it with UCF, they don't get that opportunity. This may be their opportunity. It's going to be interesting. All right, folks, that wraps up hour number 2. Hour number 3 coming up. Do you finally want to give our NFL Week 9 picks?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. When we come back, Week 9 NFL picks. Don't go anywhere.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash on 1410 ESPN Radio.
All those mouths to feed, so many different cravings. In a world filled with endless dinner options, lives a family ravaged by hunger. The answer lies with one man. No, not just a man, a king, a pizza king. Get a large Casano's Deluxe Pizza for $15.99 or a large pepperoni for just $12.99. Call 294-KING and see for yourself why the proof is in the taste. Pizza
King. Listening to this Allstate commercial about savings might be the hardest thing about getting those savings. Save for simply becoming an Allstate customer. Save more for adding DriveWise. And save even more for driving safely. Visit allstate.com or contact your local agent for a quote today. Allstate. Minimum effort, maximum reward.
Not available in every state. New customer savings based on early signing discount. Drive-bys is an optional feature. Savings vary based on how you buy. Subject to terms and conditions. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
How would you like the chance to win a truckload of DeWalt tools, plus the truck they came in? Yeah, we thought so. Don't miss Lowe's Provember event. Now through November 25th, you could win a set of 18 DeWalt tools worth over $3,000. And the truck? A 2021 Chevy Silverado. Enter for your chance to win at lowesforpros.com/Provember. Lowe's, the new home for pros. No purchase necessary. Starts 10/28, ends 11/25. LFP membership required. U.S. only. Entry rules on lowesforpros.com/Provember.
Cordell Transportation is now hiring for brand new home daily dedicated lanes. Earn up to $1,620 per week. A $2,000 sign-on bonus, medical, dental, vision, company paid life insurance. Apply online at CordellTransportation.com.
If you need new roofing, siding, or gutters, skylights, or patio enclosures, if you're a homeowner or business and need someone you can trust, don't take a chance. Enhance with Lance. Lance Roofing and Siding in Fairborn has been satisfying customers since 1993 and hold an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau. Lance Roofing and Siding, 8460 Dayton Springfield Road in Fairborn. Call for a free estimate at 864-2722. That's 864-2722 or online at lanceroofing.com.
Susie, I love you. Your skin is soft like a fresh leather interior.
Oh, Joe.
Your smell is intoxicating like that of a new tire.
You always know how to make me blush.
So this year I got you something special.
Tires! Touring tires with an asymmetrical tread design.
Yeah, and a free alignment with standard installation.
It's just what I've always wanted.
Susie doesn't know that Joe saved $150 at tire discounters. This holiday, say it with tires.
OHMB 803342 and MLS 304138. Do you need help with a loan to purchase or refinance your home? Have you applied for a home loan and been told you do not qualify for a loan? Are you a first-time buyer and have questions regarding the home buying process? Are you considering refinancing your existing home? Do you live in Ohio, Kentucky, Indiana, Florida, or South Carolina? If you answered yes to any of the above questions, you need to call Forrest Ferris at 3rd Street Financial Home Loans at 513-320-5911, who is available 7 days a week to help you. We're 3rd Street Financial Home Loans, and Forrest Ferris specializes in approving home loans banks and other lenders cannot or will not approve. Some of our clients might have low credit scores, been through a divorce, want to buy a home for sale by owner, are in a land contract, or dealing with probate or estate homes. Call Forrest now for a free estimate, 513-320-5911. That's 513-320-5911. Offer valid for purchase or refinancing of homes located in Ohio, Kentucky, Indiana, Florida, and South Carolina only. Minimum loan amount $60,000. Limitations and restrictions apply.
Cleveland State women's basketball coach Chris Kilsmeyer, COVID survivor.
I was fatigued, just like every other basketball coach in March, but didn't think about getting sick. I woke up one night with the worst pains and chills I'd ever experienced. I tested positive for coronavirus and immediately self-quarantined. I got worse and worse and checked into the hospital. Multiple times I said, I don't want to die. We know what works. We know how to fight this, but it's going to take all of us doing the right thing every single day.
Sponsored by the Ohio Hospital Association.
Hi, this is Paul Keels, voice of the Ohio State Buckeyes. Keep your home comfort system running smoothly and efficiently with regular checkups from Butler Heating and Air Conditioning. Butler has been proudly serving the Miami Valley since 1949. Don't wait until your equipment breaks. Call Butler today at 937-253-8871. That's 937-253-8871. Go Butler and go Bucks.
Staples helps your business go big with everything you need at amazing prices. From office essentials like paper and ink to health essentials like masks and sanitizer. Save big at Staples.
Some gifts say, I care about you. Some gifts say, I'm going to wow you. This year, one gift says both. It's the new Oral-B IO, the electric toothbrush with the irresistible design that dentists will find irresistible for another reason. It improves oral health by delivering the wow of a professional clean feel at home every single day. This year, give the gift of wow. The Oral-B IO. Oral-B, brush like a pro.
Napa know-how.
Get all the quality parts you need at your locally owned Napa. Because right now, when you order from Napa online, you can pick up curbside at your local store in just 30 minutes. Or get your order delivered direct to your door with free one-day shipping and over 160,000 quality parts when you spend $35 or more. Quality parts delivered quickly and safely. That's Napa know-how.
Napa know-how.
At participating stores, standard ground shipping and exclusions apply.
O'Reilly.
This is Jesse's O'Reilly Auto Parts story.
As a nurse, not making it to work was not an option. But driving through the snow with my wiper blades struggling, I just didn't feel safe. So I pulled into O'Reilly Auto Parts, and before I knew it, an employee was offering to install the wiper blades on my car. I got to stay out of the snow for a moment, and I still made it to work on time.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
At Shell, we know from the time you get up to the time you wrap up,
good night,
there's a lot of meetups, eat-ups, and hurry-ups. So come to Shell and get 3 things done at once. Fill up with Shell V-Power Nitro Plus to help keep your engine running like new. Save up with the Fuel Rewards program and never pay full price for gas again. And snack up with in-store rewards to save even more at the pump. Make the most of the stop you need to make with Shell and engines that continuously use Shell V-Power Nitro Plus premium gasoline. See full terms and conditions at fuelrewards.com.
It's time for some straight talk. Look, we all drop our phones. It happens. You fumble it, crack it, splash it. Well, Straight Talk Wireless now offers this new Platinum Unlimited plan that includes phone protection. Just $65 a month for unlimited talk, text, and data, plus 20 gigs of hotspot, 100 gigs of cloud storage, and more. All on the best network. Straight Talk Wireless, no contract, no compromise. See Mobile Protect terms and conditions at Asurion.com/Straight Talk. Limitations and exclusions apply.
Progressive presents The Sounds of the Old World.
The year is 2019, and someone is waiting for the previews to start in a movie theater.
Hey, you want anything? Popcorn? Soda? No, nothing.
This has been The Sounds of the Old World.
Brought to you by Progressive, where drivers can still switch and save like it's 2019.
Quote today at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
Staples helps your business go big with everything you need at amazing prices. From office essentials like paper and ink to health essentials like masks and sanitizer. Save big at Staples.
Hey, who wants free money? Who are we kidding? We all do. It's the ESPN Dayton #We Want to Get Paid Cash Contest. Listen for the word that wins 18 times a day, starting at 6 a.m. Monday through Friday. Enter the keyword at wingam.com for your chance to win $1,000. It's the ESPN Dayton #We Want to Get Paid Cash Contest. Whether you're at home, at work, or in your car, tune in to ESPN 1410 Wing AM or stream us live at wingam.com. We are Dayton's home of the Ohio State Buckeyes.
And into the end zone goes Chris Olave. KJ Hill, 6-yard touchdown catch. Right sideline and down he goes to the end zone.
WING 1410 Dayton, Dayton's ESPN Radio.
Justin Kinner, Kev Nash, back with you here on Dayton's ESPN radio station, 1410 Wing AM. For those of you out there who have been participating in our NFL Pro Football Challenge Pickem contest presented by Frickers, we appreciate that. Head to wingam.com right now. Make sure you get your picks submitted for Week 9. Even if you have not participated in previous weeks, doesn't matter. You could join the fun in the middle of all the action. Right now, we're at the halfway point. In fact, the halfway point of the NFL season's behind us. We start the second half of the season coming up on Sunday. No Browns, no Bengals, a bye week for both, but still a lot of big games that could impact both the Browns and the Bengals. More so the Browns just being in the playoff hunt right now, but nonetheless, a lot of big games around the NFL. So make sure, again, head to wingam.com. If you're watching live on Facebook, there you see it. It's the Pro Football Pick'em Challenge. Submit your weekly picks, $25 in Frickers bucks. Go to the weekly round winners. You could win more than once. Andrew Smith has already won twice. He hasn't picked up his prize yet, but he's up to $50 in Fricker's buck. So, right. So Andrew Smith, he won a lot last year too. Like he gets them right. I don't. I haven't seen your name come up yet in the top, so clearly you don't know how to pick them. But by the way, I've just told you how great of pickers we are, so make sure you sit right here and listen to us and follow our guidance on who to pick this coming up weekend. But let's do our Week 9 NFL Pick'em Challenge presented by Frickers. Again, head to wingam.com right now and submit your Week 9 NFL picks. Kev, last night the Packers 34-17 over the Niners. The Niners are, of course, they're without Kittle for the rest of the year. They're without Garoppolo for the rest of the year. Garoppolo, although leading the Niners to at least a Super Bowl appearance last year, possibly done. Many rumors out there that, hey, Bill Belichick, he needs a quarterback. Garoppolo could end up back in New England where it all started to begin with. Who knows what's going to happen? Of course, Matt Ryan rumored not to go to my Cleveland Browns, of course, but maybe to the Niners. It'll be interesting. But the Packers get a win 6-2, improved to 6-2 with a 34-17 win over the Niners last night. How about this one? A big one in the NFL coming up on Sunday, a 1:00 kick. The Bills 6-2. Welcoming in the 6-1 Seahawks. I love this matchup. Seattle is a 3-point favorite. Who you got?
I got the Bills winning this game. It's a 1:00 kick. Seattle all the way over to the East Coast. The Bills are one of the few teams in the league that still play defense. Obviously, Seattle Seahawks defense is struggling this season. Even though Russell Wilson is great, I got the Bills winning this game.
All right, so Seahawks, Bills. Again, you have the Bills winning this game.
Yeah.
Huh? This is a big one for the Bills. It's way bigger for the Bills than it is the Seahawks, and here's why. The Miami Dolphins. The Dolphins are biting at their ankles right now, and although the Bills are still the favorites to win that division, and I think that they will, I can't tell with what we're watching with the Dolphins if it's for real or not, because I think this is a team that thought they were going to be bad enough to still have 2 top 10 picks, but if they keep winning, that may not be the case right now. There's chum in the water. The Patriots, they are officially dead. Like that dynasty is dead. They might try to rearrange some things and start over next year, but this division, it's up for the taking. It looks like it's the Bills division, but the Dolphins are right behind them. So I think this is a bigger game for the Bills than it actually is for the Seahawks. The Dolphins are 4-3. They only have they're 2 less wins, 1 less loss than the Bills. The Bills get a loss, all of a sudden, the Dolphins are right there at the top. And the Dolphins led behind Tua Tagovailoa making his second start. They have the Cardinals. That's another one we'll get to in a moment. But man, I'm going to pick the Bills. I'm going to pick the Seahawks. I'm sorry. I think that the Bills have been a little vulnerable lately. I'm picking the Seahawks, although I do think it's going to be a shootout. But we will learn just how good the Bills defense is coming up this weekend. The Titans 5-2. And I joked earlier, they overlooked the mighty Cincinnati Bengals. They were not the kittens, they were the Bengals. They overlooked them. They lost. They're going to get right back on their horse and continue riding this week. They got the Bears. Tennessee, a 6.5-point favorite at home with the Bears in town.
Yeah, I got Tennessee winning this game. Reinforcements on their defense are coming back. Adoree Jackson is back in the lineup finally for the first time.
So you're saying they weren't fully healthy last week? Is that what you're saying? I just want to make sure that's what happened, right?
Shouts out to Schroeder. He knows Adoree Jackson is back at corner. They just made a trade for the former All-Pro Desmond King from Iowa. He's going to be a starter for them in the secondary, so they're tweaking things. They're one of the few teams in the NFL that actually made some solid moves during a not free agency, but trade deadline. So I got Tennessee winning this game because the Bears offense, especially that offensive line, can't protect anybody. So I'm going to go with Tennessee.
Well, the Bengals offensive line couldn't protect anybody either, and they protected them against the Titans. I think the Bears win this. Tennessee, a 6.5-point favorite. I'm picking the Bears to win this, and it's going to be exciting because then I could say, see, the Titans aren't as good as what you thought. But the Bears defense is legit. The Titans offense is solid. They're going to have to rely on Derrick Henry, but if the Bengals defense slowed down that Titans attack, this is a legit defense in the Bears. I mean, everyone has an off week. I think the Titans had an off week, but I think the Bears come away with this. I don't think the Titans have enough defense. Their defense isn't that great. Nick Foles isn't that great, but I think they're just good enough to get it done. They're 5-3 because of the defense and the offense doing just enough. Well, their defense is really good. They're going to slow down the Titans attack. The Titans defense, until I see otherwise, is not good. I'm going to give advantage Bears, but that's kind of a big line, 6.5. It's bigger than what it was for the Bengals game. Interesting, nonetheless. All right, the Ravens. All right, no Browns, no Bengals this week, and the Steelers are 7-0. The Ravens, who were expected to win this division, they're looking up at the Steelers, Kev, and the Ravens looking to continue winning. It's an even line. They're on the road at the Colts. Can you imagine right now at 5-2 if the Browns, if the Browns come out of this bye week with the Ravens lost this week, they're technically in second. They would lose the tiebreaker because the Ravens have beat them. But the Ravens would be 5-3. The Browns would be 5-3. The Colts, Ravens, it's an even line. They're at Indianapolis. I'm going to pick the Colts in this, mainly just because I want to see an interesting AFC North in the back half of the season.
I'm going to go with the Baltimore Ravens. You know, Lamar has been taking a bashing this week. But you know what? Lamar only plays bad against the Steelers and Kansas City. Versus everybody else, he balls out. So I'm going to just go with that. I think the Ravens are going to win this game.
Problem is, he has not been balling out as much this year as what we're accustomed to seeing. I mean, as great a year as he had last year, I'm not saying he's having that bad a year this year, but he's not putting up anywhere remotely close to the numbers he did a year ago. I think that's why you saw the Ravens like, hey, there's not a lot of options offensively out there to bolster this team. So they've gone overboard on making sure that, going out and getting, loading up this defense. I think the Ravens probably come away with this, but I'm going to go with my guy. I'm going to say it's the Colts. I think the Colts come away with this one, but it's going to be close. I mean, it's an even line. The Colts aren't that good, and the Ravens are supposed to be Super Bowl contenders. So This is an interesting one to me. The Colts playing at home shouldn't make that much of a difference, especially in a COVID-stricken year with fan capacity limits. Yeah. So this is interesting, but imagine if the Ravens lose this, Kev, and all of a sudden they're 5-3. The Browns are 5-3. The Browns, by the way, come back and they have like very winnable games moving forward. They have the easiest schedule remaining.
NFC least.
Yeah, and so you have the Ravens who have the Patriots coming up, which that could be a win, but they have the Titans, the Steelers, and the Browns, 3 of their next 4 after that. So
it's a big game for both teams.
There's a chance that all of a sudden Cleveland in the next couple of weeks could have a better record than the Baltimore Ravens. It's going to be a weird thing how that shapes up. Making fun of the Browns, they could end up finishing second in that division, arguably the best division in football. Panthers Chiefs, Super Bowl defending champions, 10.5-point favorites at home against, Teddy Two Gloves, as you like to call them, Teddy Bridgewater and the Panthers. Panthers 3-5, Chiefs 7-1, Chiefs a 10.5-point favorite. I think it'll be closer than people think. That the Chiefs aren't as explosive as they were last year, but they're 7-1. They're doing their thing. I picked the Chiefs. They're 8-1.
The champs.
That's simple. Off and rolling. This line is even. The Vikings and the Lions. I mean, you want to talk about a snooze fest. My goodness. The Vikings 2-5, the Lions 3-4. You were calling for Matt Patricia's head.
Yeah.
The Lions have had injury after injury after injury, but yet they've won more games. The more players they've lost, the more games they've won. I've never seen anything like it. Lions 3-4, Vikings 2-6. I think Patricia pulls them to 500. The Vikings had a big win last week against the Packers. We'll see if they could build on that, but I'm gonna pick the Lions. By the way, here's the deal too. The reason that this line has disappeared, no Matthew Stafford, who's out with COVID-19.
DC4, feed Dalvin Cook. Feed Dalvin Cook. Feed Dalvin Cook.
That's simple. One of the worst matchups of the year. I'm surprised they didn't put this on Thursday Night Football. Giants and the Washington football team. Washington, a 2.5-point favorite at home. We saw last week the Giants kind of really take it to the Buccaneers and really challenge them. But I think that was more of the Buccaneers playing down to their opponent than it was the Giants playing good football. So I'm going to go with Washington. They still have, they have Chase Young back. They at least have some guys I'm interested in. They have Terry McLaurin. I'm going to roll with Washington in this one. And all of a sudden, Washington could be a 3-win team.
Right. I'm going to go with the Washington football team as well. Like you said, Terry McLaurin, former Buckeye, just been recently named captain. Also, they're coming off a bye week. And also, the Giants gave their best effort of the season versus Tom Brady and the Buccaneers. You're not going to get that again on a Sunday at 1:00 when you just played a Monday night game. As bad as a football team as they are, I'm going to go with the Washington football team.
Yeah, Washington, they're 2-5 if they get a win. I said earlier, man, they could be a 3-win team as if that's a good thing. But it's a good thing in that division because they could be tied for first in that division. That is kind of a big deal. Texans, Jaguars, and there's so many bad teams in the NFL this year. We've had this debate before. I feel like there are more bad teams this year than others. I'm going to have to go back and look. On Monday, I'll have that answer. But I feel like we are talking about more horrible matchups this year than we have in years past. I mean, it seems bad, worse than usual. Texans 1-6, Jaguars 1-6. Two teams trying to stay atop the draft order. All right,
somebody's trying to get a win. Hopefully, it's not a tie. I'm just go with the better quarterback in this situation, Deshaun Watson.
And with that being said, Houston a 7-point favorite on the road against the Jaguars. I think the Jaguars have basically kind of given up on the idea of Minshew being their quarterback. I think they wanted to give him this full year just to see what you have. I think they kind of liked what they saw last year. That's why they moved on from Nick Foles. And you look at this year and they're like, okay, we're going to give him this full year. Can't say they didn't give him a fair shot, but to be fair, too, they don't have a lot of weapons. They unloaded this roster in the offseason. All right, the Super Bowl favorites, the Oakland Raiders, the Las Vegas Raiders, 4-3. Gentlemen, who will beat the Chargers? 2-5 at home. The best rookie quarterback in the National Football League, Justin Herbert, and the Chargers welcome in the Raiders. And it's an even line. Chargers only 2-5. And I saw today that, Joe Burrow is somehow in the MVP conversation, which is an absolute joke. Justin Herbert, other than total passing yards and completions, is more consistent, has more touchdowns, has less turnovers, is more efficient. Either way, that's an argument for later. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to pick the Chargers. Chargers improved to 3-5 with the win over the Raiders. Raiders back down to 4-4.
Chargers as well. Raiders aren't going to have the benefit of terrible weather like they did last week dealing with the Browns. I see big numbers by the Chargers, passing, running. Their defense for the Raiders is not that good. So if you got any fantasy football players for the Chargers, play them.
Absolutely. And the Chargers right now 2-5, a win. I kind of put them right back there and jumbled up in the middle with the Broncos and the Raiders, who, again, everyone's just looking up at the Chiefs, and I don't see that changing. A matchup that I thought at the beginning of the year was going to have so much more weight to it, and it's not. The Steelers, the Cowboys, Pittsburgh. How about this? Holy smokes. A 14.5-point favorite on the road at Jerry's World. Woo! Are you kidding me? I mean, my goodness. So you mean to tell me that the Pittsburgh Steelers are more of a favorite at the Cowboys than Cincinnati, the number 6 team in the country in college football, is against Houston? Not even the Texans. My goodness. No, Pittsburgh, I think this is an easy one. Pittsburgh over the Cowboys. The Cowboys are a joke.
Black and yellow.
Black and yellow, black and yellow. Justin Fields' future team is going to get beat by the Steelers. There you go. Saints, Buccaneers. All of a sudden, this matchup's looking less sexy as well. Tampa Bay, a 4.5-point favorite at home, welcoming in Drew Brees and the Saints. Drew Brees has missed some time this week. Out. He missed some practice. He missed practice yesterday and today, out with a shoulder injury. We're finding out that the Michael Thomas absence is actually not so much about injuries. There's been a lot of behind-the-scenes issues where, remember I told you a while back, there was a report that they were maybe looking to shop him. That's how bad it is. We have no clue what's going on behind the scenes, but if I had to guess, if you can go back to the old Drew Brees situation in the offseason, when civil unrest was at the peak, do you think it's some fallout from that? Because this locker room, this team does not look like they are a united front as much as they did last year, and there's a lot of chatter behind the scenes right now.
I don't think it has anything to do with that. I saw also some reports about Michael Thomas possibly got into a big time fight at practice. My question is, if Drew Brees is down, who's going to start? Are they going to really roll out Taysom Hill, or are they going to roll out famous Jameis?
I mean, that's a good question right there.
I would love to see Jameis play against Tampa Bay.
I would love to. I think I'm more. I would love to see Jameis over Taysom Hill, because Taysom Hill's just kind of Jameis is exciting, and right now with the weapons that the Saints have, I would love to see what Jameis does, airing it out with the weapons he has. Assuming, of course, Michael Thomas, but I don't think.
And that's the thing about it. That's the thing about it. Taysom Hill is so athletic. They basically have him playing wide receiver as well. So you're gonna take your third wide receiver.
He caught a touchdown this past week, too.
You're gonna take your third wide receiver and make him the quarterback, or you're gonna put your third, quote unquote, third string quarterback in the game and play ball. So we're gonna find out.
All right, as we make our final 2 picks here, keep in mind, if you're just tuning in, it's our NFL Pro Pickem Challenge, again, presented by Frickers. $25 in Frickers bucks. Head to wingam.com, click on contest up at the top of the page. Submit your Week 9 NFL picks. It's the Pro Football Pickem Challenge, Week 9, presented by Frickers. $25 in Frickers fun bucks goes to the weekly round winners. Dolphins, Cardinals, Tua Tagovailoa versus Kyler Murray. The Dolphins are 4-3. All of a sudden, they're potentially fighting for a championship or a division championship. The Cardinals, they're 5-2. You shouldn't call them a surprise team, but they're kind of a surprise team. We thought they would fizzle out. Cardinals, a 4.5-point favorite. Kyler Murray, Tua Tagovailoa. Who wins this quarterback matchup?
I'm going to go with the Cardinals because it's the home team. Even though crowds aren't there, the Cardinals surprisingly do have a pretty good offense. As long as Kyler Murray does not turn over the ball, they will win this game.
If Arizona gets a win over the Dolphins, they're going to improve to 6-2. Seattle has their hands full with the Bills. All of a sudden,
and they already got a win over the Seahawks.
So what we thought was going to be Seattle's division to lose, maybe the Rams would contend for it. The Cardinals, Kyler Murray, good for him. The step that he has taken forward, good for him, good for the Cardinals. The Bengals are hoping that they see this type of jump from one year to the next, not just from Kyler Murray's standpoint, but from a team standpoint, and it could be done when you have the quarterback stuff figured out. But I'm going to roll with Tua Tagovailoa. I think it's a game that means a lot to the Cardinals too, but Tua has a lot to prove right now, and all of a sudden they get a win. They're 5-3, and they're right at the top of their division. But this, for two young quarterbacks, two young teams, this is probably the biggest game of the weekend for me. The Saints-Bucks is big, but I'm going to roll with the Dolphins-Cardinals as my team to watch, my game to watch. And lastly, the Patriots-Jets, the Jets, Jets are an embarrassment. They're 0-8. You saw the Cowboys were a 14.5-point dog at home against the Steelers. Somehow the Jets are only a 7.5-point dog against the Patriots in town, but that's just because the Patriots, they know Steelers, and this isn't your brother's Patriots team from last year. Just put it that way.
You finally get off the schneid. They finally get off the schneid. New England wins this game, man. Jets are going over.
Yeah, I'm in a Pickem challenge, by the way, or an eliminator league, I'm sorry, and everyone keeps following the Jets' opponent's pattern. I'm staying away from that. I'm hoping everyone does. We're down to 5, and I've won with bad teams, by the way. I mean, the Browns are bad, but I've won with the Browns. I've won with the Eagles. I've won with the Cowboys. I mean, I've won with some questionable teams. I've won with the Patriots already. I have all my good teams left while everyone else has all the bad teams. So please, people in my eliminator league, pick the Patriots, would you? Because I'm with you. I think the Jets get a win. The wheels are falling off in New England.
Oh, no, I picked the Patriots.
Oh, you picked the Patriots?
Yeah.
Oh, no, I'm picking the Jets.
Wow.
I'm picking the wheels are falling off. And if you want to talk about the Patriots hitting rock bottom, a loss to the Jets at the Jets, 0-8. While Tom Brady and the Bucks probably beat Drew Brees and the Saints and go to 8-2 or 7-2 in their division. Yeah, I'm picking the Jets. I'm not going to pick them in my eliminator league by any means. I'm not going to put my money where my mouth is. All right, folks, let's talk some NBA draft. We're going to be joined by Matt Babcock. Again, he's an NBA draft analyst for Babcock Hoops. Used to be an NBA agent, and of course, he's really high on Obi Toppin. We're going to talk about Obi Toppin and where he could potentially land in the upcoming NBA draft on November 18th. Let's talk some NBA college basketball. Obi Toppin, Dayton Flyers. Matt Babcock, Babcock Hoops, NBA draft analyst next.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash.
Justin, you're awesome, baby.
Right here on 1410 ESPN Radio. ESPN 1410 Wing AM weather.
This afternoon will be clear and sunny with